Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home by combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
The fourth stop on the schedule brings us to Wilkes County, North Carolina. Built in 1946 in the moonshine capital of the world, North Wilkesboro Speedway was originally built to be a home venue for stock car racing in the Carolinas. Track founder Enoch Stanley pushed Bill France for help promoting the track, and the rest was history. Welcome to the NORC iRacing series on Pit Stop TV. Andrew Cardinale with Eric Brennan alongside, as well as Emerson Arden. In our third chair, we've got Trey Shuttlesworth out and around on the racetrack, grabbing photos for us to enjoy on social media. We welcome you once again to our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter coverage as we get ready to get set to go for 175 circuits around these hallowed banks. Looking down on the 5/8 mile oval, you might think the track is straightforward. However, it's anything but simple. Featuring, of course, the famous downhill run to turn 1 and the uphill climb to turn 3, each corner presents different challenges. A tightening arc sets you in a very tricky way up for turn number 2 before rocketing up towards turn number 3, and that inside looks appealing, but if you get a little bit too low to the inside, it will fight back. All before launching drivers towards the front stretch wall as the exit radius of turn 4 gets cut short. Bob Flock won the first NASCAR race here in 1949 in an Oldsmobile, and Jeff Gordon won the last in 1996 in a Chevrolet. Who wins it tonight in NORC? Eric, we're soon going to find out.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. And wow, first of all, masterful job there with the intro. And these pictures, they just tug at the heartstrings of the racing purists and enthusiasts, because this racetrack means a lot to a lot of people. And that goes back to the reason as to why it is on the sim, why it was added to the NORC slate a year ago once it was released, and why we are here tonight. And as far as the venue, I must say that I was pretty young, some of you not even born yet, but I was pretty young when the Cup Series last ran at this track. And I'm very happy to see a lot of the energy and initiatives behind trying to perhaps revitalize this track, which, as you can see, has been run down due to the multiple decades of absence of stock car racing. But tonight it is our NORC drivers who are in the spotlight, and I'm thrilled for this race because this is the first short track on our slate. So if you got a score to settle, this is your first chance to do it. And we've been talking about the aerodynamics of these Xfinity cars when we were at Daytona, Kansas, Michigan. Aero's not really going to matter anymore. It's all going to be about handling around this racetrack that, as you mentioned in your lead-in, Andrew, it looks like your typical short track, but it's got a lot of character to it, and also being able to make sure that you avoid trouble and you're physical when you have to be.
Yeah, absolutely. This track, I mean, I was one of those people not born, when the Cup Series last ran at this track, but being, that it came to iRacing this past summer and all, I can say just from, watching races, I haven't even done too many laps, just watching, the entry to turns 1 and 3 is so tricky. The car is so off balance as you throw it into that corner. It's going to be very fun to see how these drivers can really either, take it easy into the corner entries and see if they can maintain their position, or really throw it in there and try to hold on for dear life.
This racetrack wasn't supposed to have the grade that it has down each straightaway, but when money ran out in early construction, well, they kind of just went with it. It was originally a dirt track turned into this pavement behemoth, kind of, set before us. It's longer than Martinsville, longer than Bristol, just shorter than Richmond, and, of course, Loudon and Dover. It is one grand speedway, and I cannot wait for the NORC iRacing Series to take to it this evening. We get a nice flying shot to leave the speedway before we turn cars loose. In practice so far, Will Klein atop the speed charts. We've got Jared Darling second, Tommy Gossett third, Aaron Smith in fourth, Tyler Justice in fifth. A lot of those same fast drivers we've been talking about a lot this season towards the top of the speed charts so far this evening. As we've had plenty of time now to get accustomed to the North Wilkesboro Speedway, thanks mostly in part to BAM Racing videos, let's take you around the track map here at North Wilkesboro. Again, looking down on it, Eric, it looks simple, but that arc in turn 1 and the arc exiting out of turn 4, along with the somewhat curved backstretch, man, there's so much to talk about here.
Yeah, if you look at it from an architectural standpoint, you would think somebody made a massive mistake when they were building this facility. But from a race car driver's standpoint, this racetrack has all the attitude and character that one could ever hope for in a track that measures just over a half mile in length. I mean, when they debuted this for the Pro Invitational Series a year ago during the outbreak of the COVID-19 pandemic, it was fun to hear some of the modern-day stock car stars talk about how some of which who did compete on this racetrack at one point, Jeff Gordon being one of them, but others who had not had the opportunity, just saying they really wish that this racetrack would come back to life because of how interesting and how many characteristics it has, as you can see here. And I'm with you. The track map shows the degree of banking in turns 1 and 2, 3 and 4, a little bit on that back straightaway, that semi-curve as you mentioned, but the fact that the track does literally run slightly uphill and downhill on that front and back stretch, it kind of adds a little bit to how these cars set and settle in the corners. And I think it's whoever's able to master that, albeit while being bunched in and around traffic with all your competition throughout the night. I think that's going to be the key to success to navigating around the racetrack, which to the naked eye looks simple, but once you're in the sim, it's a little more challenging, but it's a whole lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're getting to the point where we're getting close to that 30 car count. This is going to be a tough little bull ring, if you will, here at North Wilkesboro. With that many cars, there's not a whole lot of room to go around. It looks like there's 4 lanes on the track, but you'll quickly notice that there isn't 4 lanes on that track, and it's going to be quite the challenge, especially if you're starting deeper in the field, to see how you move forward, especially if you have speed. So I don't know. I know at Kansas and Michigan we had people who had the speed to move forward who didn't qualify. I don't know if that's going to be the case here today at North Wilkesboro, and if it is, it's definitely going to be something to watch.
Before we go any further in tonight's show, I want to remind everybody these broadcasts are brought to you by some amazing partners, those being, of course, Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music. Use promo code PitStopTV at checkout for 10% off of your order. And by Race Pace. You can pick up pace with Race Pace. You go and download some of their GT3 and Porsche Cup setups and so much more can be done over at Race Pace Setups. Use that Discord link bottom right to join their server. These broadcasts also brought to you by Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, where you deserve the best care that money can buy. And by Whiplash Media, the official graphic and camera provider of Pit Stop TV. And for the first time, these broadcasts also brought to you by BAM Racing Videos, by a race fan for the racing community. So glad to be joining you guys once more from the North Wilkesboro Speedway. There we go. Say that 5 times fast. It's pretty tough, I promise you. This is the third time now that we've had a race broadcast here on the famed banks of North Wilkesboro. But this is the first time we're doing it with NORC, and it's the 4th stop, as I mentioned, on the schedule. Let's take a look at those standings going into this evening after 3 races, 2 of which won by Daniel Falkingham. He's got 197 laps led, which is somehow more than the points that he's accrued so far this season. Tyler Justice, 18 back. You see Cody Miller there with his Daytona win. He comes in 3rd place. Zoltan Herzeg launches himself into the top 5, surpassing Tommy Gossett. And how about Spencer Owens from outside the top 20, I do believe at Daytona, or after Daytona rather, into the top 6. He is closing in on those guys up top. He is very quiet, but very fast, as well as David Schutt. Sean Williams on a bit of a slide. Sheldon Lockheed Holtz from last week stays 9th, and John Berry moves himself up into the top 10. Those top 10 drivers, if the playoffs started now, if the chase started right this second, they would be in, along with 2 wild cards from 11th through 20th, Eric.
Yeah, and I mean, look at some of the names who are outside that cutoff line. I mean, Will Klein with the nickname Will Klein at the line. First driver outside looking in. We expected him to be a factor when we kicked things off at Daytona, but Daytona did what Daytona does, and it caught Will Klein out and got him involved in a crash. And then that happened again at one of the next races that we had. He was caught up in some misfortune at Michigan last week as well. And a couple of these names, like we see Will Klein, Bobby Chaney, Aaron Smith, what a great start to the season. But since then, it's been contact and conflict ever since. This short tracks do not get the reputation as a bit of a wild card, but when we're packing nearly close to 30 cars in here, we can expect these standings to jumble up a little bit. But I think the biggest question on my behalf is, can Daniel Falkingham keep this run going now that we're on a versatile racetrack that he has not yet had a chance to try and conquer this season? Super Speedway, check. Intermediate track, check. A little larger intermediate track, check. What about this short track? This is going to be the ultimate test for Falkingham and that run of momentum he's been on since the start of the season.
Absolutely. I'm really looking again also to that, second half of the point standings. We have a bunch of names on that list that did really well in practice. Will Klein went top of the charts in practice. Aaron Smith was up there in the top 5. Chad Oxendine just went top of the charts in qualifying. There's a lot of fast guys at this track in that second half of the point standings that could really get up there. And then, oh, by the way, there's a lot of cars here, and anything can and almost anything will happen tonight.
So the standing is out of the way. Let's take a look so far at qualifying speeds here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Chad Oxendine, top of the list. Ashley Molyneux currently in 2nd. How about Zach Lindgren? We hyped him up a lot at Kansas. Was nowhere to be found at Michigan after an early incident into the turn 1 wall. Spencer Ray in 4th place. Ari Adi up into 5th. A whole lot of shuffling around up there in the top 10 so far in qualifying. I can't wait to see how these guys roll off of the grid here in just a little while. Let's take a look at our weather conditions coming into this evening. 77 degrees. Track is a little warm, 111, but 77 would feel pretty nice here currently in North Carolina.
Yeah, absolutely. In a real world sense, Andrew, we were kind of met with close to 70 degrees and a lot of gusts and winds throughout the day, but perfect day in the virtual North Wilkesboro Speedway, and it's going to be interesting to see how that parlays into the on-track activity that we're going to see. That track temp hovering right around 111 degrees even, so we'll see if that's something in which these drivers are set and ready to handle when it comes down for the green flag. But with about 40 seconds left, it looks as though Oxendine and Molyneux, who I'm surprised they got a about a tenth and a half of separation, a little bit less between the two of them. But, I mean, if you look at the top of that running order, and it's still subject to change in these final, 30 seconds, but no Falkingham, no Tyler Justice, who's trying to finally crack victory lane, if at all possible, after back-to-back runner-up finishes. We got a lot of variables up there who are looking to do what they need to do in order to get themselves in championship contention, or at least closer to, if not above, the cut line at the end of this short track race. And by laying down a bit of a flyer in qualifying so far, they're doing just that.
And yeah, we had 60 people take time in qualifying. A lot of those guys, again, that were fast in practice, and Falkingham, they didn't qualify. It's going to be very interesting, that middle of the field here.
So to go down our starting grid, qualifying wrapped up, see drivers griding for the first time this evening. Let's take a look at that front row. We saw Chad Oxendine and Ashley Molyneux towards the top of our speed charts. They will lead us to the green flag. There we go. The 66 inside, 45 outside, and to the inside of row number 2, it's none other than Zach Lindgren in the 85, Spencer Ray to his outside. The inside of row number 3 gives us Ariati, one of the first throwbacks in the field, then David Shutt to his outside. Starting from the 7th position here at North Wilkesboro, it's Howie Briss in the 97, Michael Keithley, how about that starting position for him? 8th place this evening at North Wilkesboro. Starting 9th, it's Jared Darling just inside the top 10, alongside Cole Freilich.
Get to our second batch of top 10 drivers. How about Tommy Gossett? He's one of the drivers who completed all the laps this season. Going to line up at 11th, looking for his first win. And Hayes Booth just needs a little bit of good luck on his side to get a good run. He'll be coming from the outside of row number 6 in 12th tonight. 13th starting position, John Berry, somebody who has climbed his way into points pay contention, looking for a victory this season as well. And Tyrell Baker in the number 25 will start outside of row number 7. Inside of row number 8, Tyler Justice, runner-up in points, has finished second twice, looking for victory lane. And Tom Mercier at a 68 outside in 16th spot. Now back to the 17th position as we continue with our starting lineup within this top 20. The points leader, Daniel Falkingham, as Andrew mentioned, led all the laps so far this season, 197 to be exact in all 3 races. He's got some work to do to lead a lap here tonight from 17th spot. And Will Klein, who was one of the fastest cars in practice, did not lay down a flyer in qualifying. Car 48 comes from 18th position here when they dropped the green flag. And rounding out our top 20, Aaron Smith trying to get back on the right track after a great season opener at Daytona. And Bobby Cheney in car 24 takes you through your first 20 competitors.
Into the final 9, a lot of names here that I expect to be moving forward pretty quickly here. Spencer Owen, Sean Williams up there in points. He starts 22nd. We fall back to row number 12. We'll find Elijah Gracia and Brett Pancari. We'll have Scott Shire and Patrick Colby making up row number 13. Justin Ford, Daniel Falkingham, row 14. We Scott Shire and Patrick Colby will making up row number 14. And making up the final spot in the field, Justin Ford.
29 cars set to go for 175 laps this evening. They are all getting formed up, warming up those tires. You see Ariati swerving on the inside. You got to build some heat, build some pressures in those Goodyear Eagles. We are ready to go here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Once again, so glad to be here this evening. So glad to be bringing you NORC iRacing Series coverage, and to do so here from the famed North Wilkesboro Speedway. A lot of throwbacks in the field, not on that front row though. Chad Oxendine, 66 down low. Ashley Molyneux, 45 up top. Those are their normal paint schemes. Even Zach Lindgren in third. The first throwback is starting from fourth. We'll see how Spencer Ray does this evening. Coming to the green flag at North Wilkesboro. We are green. We're off and away to turn 1. Down into turn 3, Oxendine fighting back on the inside of Molyneux. Side by side, still contact in the leader's lap 1. Oxendine leads it, but just barely.
If you're all in trouble, Spencer Ray, turn 1 into the wall from the outside of one of the front rows towards the front of the field, and that is going to bring out the caution. Light contact there with the back bumper for Spencer Ray, who was running up in that third line and got tagged on the left rear, and it slows the field on lap 2.
Gonna get a replay here, but they were 3 wide into turn 1, and that's never gonna work, especially on lap 2. Here we see Spencer Ray coming off of turn number 2. I believe that is the That's the 85 there of Lindgren, and the 5 working to his inside, trying to make it 3 wide as they come down the front straightaway. Yeah, it was just a late move, but I mean, I said there's four lanes on this track. There's not really 4 lanes on this track.
No, not at all, and I'll be honest, that's just irresponsible racing from David Shutt on lap number 2 to go to the inside of Zach Lindgren and forced an issue that isn't even an issue to begin with. Spencer Ray going to have to come down the pit lane and take some repairs. We'll see if he gets cycled back out into the field with any kind of urgency, but David Shutt, that was just far too aggressive. You've got a dinged up 85, a dinged up 5, a dinged up 6, even the 15 of Cole Freilich got some damage, and there may have been others in all of the checkup.
And right away, we've only got 1 in the 3rd lap of green flag racing in, but right away I could tell that this racetrack is favorable to multi-groove racing, which is not the same when you look at some other short tracks on the sim, like a Bristol or a Martinsville. Richmond may be a little bit more favorable, but this track does offer the opportunity to make the outside lane work. Ashley Mullineaux almost pulled it off to try to grab the lead as Oxendine came up, and they made slight contact out of 4 while battling for that top spot. But when you try to pack 3 of these stock cars off into turn number 1 like that, and you see the outside car take their conventional line as if there's nobody there as far as 2 cars down low, let alone just 1, that's going to result in what we just saw take place there, and it's going to slow this field early. And lap number 5 at 175, when you look at this from a short track perspective, this is not a very long race. Barring cautions, it may take long as far as an elapsed time perspective, but as far as being able to make up ground and make things happen, you do not have a lot of time to get the job done, and this slow of the field here is going to kind of ratchet up a little bit of intensity for some of these cars as laps are really clicking off fast. We are going to complete 5 laps under yellow. We're getting set for a restart here.
Yeah, absolutely. As the race wears on and people get, spread out, it takes a few laps to set up and complete a pass here. 175 laps is not a lot. Also, Daniel Falkingham went around on lap 1, hit the inside guardrail, and he'll be at the back of the field for this restart as well.
So coming to the green for lap 7, once we do take that green flag, you see the field doubled up, ready to go once more. We'll see if they can go a bit further this time before caution flag halts them. Green flag back out, Oxendine early to the throttle. Shutt working the inside, already alongside of Ashley Mullineaux, and almost had the advantage out of turn number 2, down to the inside of 3. Still going to work on that 45 car. You got Cole Freilich now to the inside of Lindgren.
And you see the reason why the multi-groove racing here seems to work. You saw Shutt trying to get back to the gas. Mullineaux, if she was able to hang with him there on the top side of the racetrack, would have been able to stay side by side, but that was not the case. Cole Freilich trying to turn the season around, and we got another caution. And I believe it's TCB. It is Tyrell Baker into the wall in 1 and 2.
Man, turn 1, the second lap of a restart is not being the kindest for this field of drivers. TCB goes around on this second caution. We'll see this replay here. He's duking it out here with Howie Briss.
Looking from high above the North Wilkesboro Speedway is the outside of Ariati. Howie Briss inside, and Howie just kind of misses turn 1. Contact sends a 25 around. A much less impactful incident, though, for Tyrell Baker. Just a quick spin. He'll come in and probably... Actually, I doubt he'll take tires off of just that spin. These guys only have 3 sets in the pit lane, so I don't think we're going to see tires taken this early.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew, especially as we're going to see attrition start to come into play, and we're going to start to see some of these wrecks perhaps be a little bit more impactful or may knock some guys out of contention. A couple things we're going to be keeping in mind. Want to check timing and scoring, though, because it looks like Daniel Falkingham, the point leader, is buried in the standings. Not sure what happened to him or if he's even still on the racetrack as of right now. I thought I saw him come down the pit lane. He's currently scored last. I mean, that's not the most opportune start for the point leader. He's back on the pit lane here. So perhaps this is an opportunity for Falkingham, who, remember, started way out of the top 15, a chance for him to play a little bit of strategy, get on a different tire plan than the rest of the field, and then maybe make up significant amount of spots here as these cautions start to funnel in throughout the remainder of this race.
Yeah, lap number 1, he was there in the heart of the middle of the field, and he went around and hit the inside guardrail, so he's been kind of repairing damage pretty much every opportunity he can under these caution periods. With these 4 or 5 caution laps, you can come down pit lane 2 or 3 times a caution period and get about 45 seconds on a stop. So I don't know how much optional repairs he has, but it must have been a lot as he's still coming down the pit lane.
All we have a quick moment under caution, want to drag somebody in who was just the star of this most recent yellow TCB. What happened right there?
How he turned me, basically flat out there. I know he slipped up. I'm definitely not mad about it, because I actually had somewhat of talent to keep it off the wall. So, yeah, how he turned me in. We're all good. No short track racing drama yet.
All right, no tempers flaring just yet?
Nope, not yet.
All right, we'll let you get back to it. Best of luck from you.
Yeah.
There's TCB from the, looks like I'm going to say 21st or so position. We did miss TCB on the start of that race. I do apologize for that, but we'll get things restarted here. Chad Oxendine in control of the field. Lap 12 coming to 13. We're back green. Oxendine quickly takes the advantage once more. Shut. Molyneux battling out of turn 2. It's Freilich and Lindgren behind, side by side to 3.
Schutt's going to have the advantage on the top side for now. Molyneux being pinned down to the bottom. Freilich trying to slide up to cement the spot ahead of Zach Lindgren. That pass will be made. Now coming around the outside. I believe that's Hayes Booth in the discount tire entry. 3 wide again off of turn 2. Jared Darling on the low side. Hopefully these drivers settle it out here, and they will to live to fight another day. But the car on the move in that top lane is Hayes Booth cracking the top 5.
Again, the intensity is ramping up because you kind of expect another caution to come out quickly here, but we've made it a couple of green flag laps.
Oh, just as you say it, Emerson, no!
No!
A track blocker.
It's a big one on the back straightaway.
Oh my gosh. And Zach Lindgren, Jared Darling, they take big hits. Our own Hayes Booth in there as well. Oh boy.
My heart aches for Hayes Booth because I feel like every race we've covered that he has entered, he has been up there and in the mix, and that is putting all bias aside as far as his involvement with Pit Stop TV. But, I mean, Daytona, last lap gets turned around. Got involved in an incident early at Kansas. Got involved in another problem at Michigan. He's just somebody who can get up towards the front, and right here, it looks like he got loose all on his own there, though. That one's on him trying to make that second lane work, and unfortunately he caught Jared Darling. And when you got a car perpendicular to traffic here on the back straightaway at North Wilkesboro, there is not a lot of room to get by. But TCB, how about that? He just talked about his talent to avoid hitting the wall the first time. He had that thing stopped to avoid hitting the stop car of Hayes Booth. That was impressive.
A wild miss for TCB, and I was saying how the intensity is ramping up. He was just trying to, to get every advantage and just got a little too happy on the accelerator. It comes around on very early, really, on that exit, and there was nowhere, he hit Darling, and there was nowhere for Lindgren to go, and then everybody just kind of piled into it. Actually not as big as it appeared with all the smoke, but at least 3 or 4 involved in this one.
Yeah, this is a big one for sure, and a couple of guys who were having great starts. My heart aches for this entire row. We like all 3 of these guys, and 3 wide out of 2 the lap prior. Darling up the inside, and Lindgren was just falling back. He had conceded that position, and then decided to try and maybe keep up with them the lap after. Keithley's up here, Ariati as well, and they're all just around that top 5 cutoff where Hayes Booth was running. Let's watch this back one more time out of turn number 2, and yeah, Hayes just gets loose, and it's on from there.
Yeah, Zach Lindgren hard into the wall on the inside. And, I mean, I really want to give a tip of the cap to all the cars that were running towards the back of the field. I mean, we saw it in the Cup race at Martinsville a couple weeks ago where the track got blocked and people just seemingly kept piling in. And even in the sim seat, it's really hard to judge where the accident actually is when you come off the corner. And there were a lot of guys there in the back of the field. Aaron Smith may have got a little bit of damage. TCB we talked about. Everybody behind them just did a great job not adding more insult to injury and really adding a lot more damage to a lot of those cars.
Yeah, wow. I apologize for the jinx there. But I mean, for what it's worth, this, I mean, it's gonna once again give us another restart. Chad Oxendine is gonna be tested on his restart skills once again. David Schutt is up there. He's gonna try once again to see what he can do around that 66. And, I mean, it introduces new players into this top 10, and it just gets more and more interesting each and every one of these restarts.
Rinse and repeat. Let's do it all over again. Lap 20 coming to lap 21 of 175. Basically take these first 20, throw them out the window, and we've got a 155-lap race from here despite the damaged race cars in behind. Oxendine down low, Schutt up high, and already you can see how loose those cars got when they got to the throttle, already racing down to turn 1. Into turn number 3, clean so far. You see everybody filing on by. Our speed shots around the racetrack. Oxendine leading the way, and we've got a spinner. Caution again. It's Bobby Cheney.
Bobby Cheney up into the wall in turns 3 and 4. That also happened while running up towards the top 10, and it looks like a lot of cars are going to do a magnificent job to try and get by. We'll go back and see what happened to Bobby Cheney, who I'll credit Andrew Cardinale IV for this. He is one of the 9 drivers who have completed every lap to kick off this season, and obviously was running on a lead lap here when this incident happened. Came to the restart in the 5th position. Make that in the 7th position, did that of Bobby Cheney out of Ohio. He's got Will Klein just behind. Tyler Justice, who has ripped his way up through the field in these opening 21 laps. And here goes Cheney off into the corner and tag Will Klein into the left rear, and around he goes.
Again, I think this is... First, the restarts are always hectic at almost any racetrack. But there's not one, maybe 2 real good lines around these corners, and that was kind of Klein trying to get everything he can on the restart and, try to fight for that line, and just a lot going on. And again, these cautions keep happening, and every restart you're then pressured, like, I got to gain as many spots as I can on this restart because I don't know when the next caution's going to come out.
Once again, I got to say, I think this is a little bit irresponsible. That move right there. It's too early. We've had 4 cautions now in 20 laps, and I'm sorry to have cut you off there, Emerson. It's just getting a little bit irresponsible. It's irresponsible. There we go from some of these guys. We saw it on lap 1, I guess lap 2, turn 1 from David Shutt. We've now seen it from Will Klein. I think these guys just throwing it in a little over their heads currently. We got to get a race going first.
And I agree with you there, Andrew. I think that move was a little bit overzealous, but let's go back to the points. I mean, Will Klein is somebody who got caught up in a crash in 2 of the first 3 races and has been trying to climb his way back up in the running order. He's outside that championship cut line right now. I know this is only the 4th race of the season, but, playoffs are not that far away, and being how some of these races have unfolded so far this season, perhaps that's a little bit of an incentive for someone like Will Klein to feel a sense of urgency, even though we're only working at the time lap 21 of a 175-lap race. But, that could be a little bit of a peek into the mind as to the why we're seeing people make some of these moves. And it doesn't make it valid by any stretch of the imagination. We still got a long way to go, and I think these guys would benefit from getting into a little bit of a rhythm. But nevertheless, that's out there. These guys come into this race knowing where they're at in the standings and that this is a chance to make it up, but they also could lose it pretty quickly.
I think that's a very valid point, is to think the big picture, and that's part of it. I mean, I don't disagree. That was pretty irresponsible this early into the race. There's so many laps from a racing perspective, and him already being up here in the top 10. There's a lot of laps for him to try to move forward. If he's meant to move forward, if it went green, it'll work out. But at the same time, that's just what happens with multiple, if that is the case, multiple different agendas at a very tight track.
Let's try it over again. Lap 26, coming to 27 of 175. Oxendine, your race leader. Shutt on the outside still. Molyneux in 3rd. Freilich in 4th. Ariotti up to 5th place. We go green one more time. Shutt stays with him a bit closer, but not close enough. Molyneux down to the inside of David Shutt to turn 1. Molyneux, a misstep. Saves that race car. How about that save? She keeps it on the inside now of Tyler Justice. 3 wide and behind. Spencer Owens up high. Ariotti through the middle. Will Klein down low.
Oh, I was cringing a little bit there as Will Klein went 3 wide in the bottom and 3 again. They all survived the corner, but for Molyneux, it's not going to be too good. She's fallen back a few spots here. And Tyler Justice, weren't we talking about how he started outside the top 15? He's up to 4th and now clear of whatever carnage may develop behind him. He actually started in the 15th spot, has avoided all the trouble, and now can methodically try to work his way further forward. He's got Cole Freilich just up ahead out the windshield in what's going to be a race for 3rd.
I'm not going to actually even say anything like that, but this is going to be the chance that drivers can really feel out these cars. And now the tires have had a few restart cycles on them. These cars are not going to feel like they're on fresh tires as well, so it's going to be interesting to see how these drivers adjust. I know we ran a lot of laps under caution, but they're not fresh tires anymore. We're going to see really who's got the long run pace, I think, sooner rather than later.
Heat cycling these Goodyear Eagles, not a great idea. Oxendine, your race leader on lap 31 now of 175. David Shutt there still in second. Cole Freilich in third, and there's the first battle on the racetrack. Justice down to the inside of Freilich, and a side-by-side battle to the turn 3. The bottom side, the 7 car, working that very bottom groove. It pays off pretty well if you can do it right, but if you're able to defend from the top side, I think that's definitely the preferred line.
The one thing that we've noticed, though, with these setups, we saw Spencer Owens do it a little bit there off turn 4. You can burp the back tires pretty easily, as we saw there. Justice try to slide up in front of Freilich. Ashley Molyneux's trying to figure out which lane's going to go. But remember, we saw Hayes Booth lose the back end of his car while trying to make the outside lane work. Cole Freilich's been very smooth with the throttle, and Justice can't get back to the power off turn 2. They continue this side-by-side battle for third. Justice squeezes out in front. Can he complete the pass off 4? He does barely leave a room outside for Freilich, and the fight continues in turn 1.
Man, I don't know if he just was told he wasn't clear, but that is admirable to leave that kind of space, not really knowing where, that 15 car was. And I think that may be just part of the drivers that are just tired of running caution laps and wanting to get this done and over with and protecting their own car. And Freilich loose into the corner. He's going to make contact with the 45. He'll wash back up the track. He'll lose the spot to Will Klein. He'll file into the 6th position. Now has to fend off Zoltan Herczeg.
On board with Falkingham, up to 8th spot in behind Herczeg, and both of these drivers, after being involved in early incidents, moving their way through the field. Zoltan was caught up in one of the backstretch pileups, and Falkingham had his problem on lap number 1. They're both up into the top 10, 7th and 8th to be exact, and they are continuing to move forward. A little further back in this field, I'm noticing some other battles back here. We've got Patrick Colby and Ariotti going at it, this for the 10th position.
Yet happy to see this race coming to some sort of a rhythm for right now. And Ariotti holding down that last spot in the top 10. And Patrick Colby's another name that we'll talk about, is trying to make his way up in the championship standings after some misfortune. Was caught up in an early crash back at Michigan. He finds himself 14th in the standings, lost 7 spots by virtue of that incident at Michigan 1 week ago. This is his opportunity to shine here, and he is 1 spot shy, getting up in the top 10. As Adi runs wide in turns 2, that's going to open up the door for Colby to try to get up alongside. But we're seeing some really solid racing here as people start to find their groove, and I think this is where we'll start to see some of that tire strategy swing a little bit as Tommy Gossett and John Berry are door to door.
Yeah, now that I think we're spread out and these drivers are starting to feel like this is going to go on a little bit of a run, the give and take factor is definitely up there. You're definitely giving a lot more than you're thinking, and you should be at this point of a short track race, especially with how hectic that start was. Again, I'm expecting these drivers to just, want to get this race kind of moving along here. And we continue. We ride on board here with Tommy Gossett trying to fend off John Berry. This is back in the 14th position. Look at this train.
Battling down the backstretch of turn number 3 once more. They start to file it out for now, and they will keep on racing to see another lap. Meanwhile, Chad Oxendine, our race leader, he won the last time here at North Wilkesboro. He is skirting away to another pretty decent lead. He's got over a second back to second place, David Shutt, and even more of a gap, 1.6 seconds back to Will Klein for third, who is battling still with Tyler Justice and Ashley Molyneux.
Yeah, while we keep our eyes on this battle that's shaping up here for third place, Will Klein around Tyler Justice, Molyneux again sideways off the corner. I got to love the fact that these drivers are having to absolutely wheel their cars off the corner. But the most impressive thing about Chad Oxendine is not just the fact that he got himself out front. It's the pace. You alluded to it, Andrew. He's gotten himself out to a healthy lead, but this is a short track, and lap traffic is going to be something that's going to be a bit of a factor here as these races unfold. We don't have stage breaks that kind of protect some of these drivers from running into lap traffic, so if this race continues its clean, green, and authentic nature, Oxendine's going to have to make sure that he has a car that can work high and low. Even though he's by himself now, it may not be like that for long, but right now he is doing a great job keeping his field at bay, with our top 5 remaining relatively calm for the time being.
I'm very intrigued to see what he'll do in lap traffic as we ride on board with Molyneux, looking back at Zoltan Herczeg, kind of pulling on that rest of the group here. Herczeg got up around Freilich, but back to Oxendine, the only car he's had in front of him today was the pace car. It's going to be interesting when he gets to traffic. I can't wait, especially seeing how these drivers have been kind of tooth and nail in the pack, especially when they get up to traffic that they feel is slower than them. That's going to be fun to see.
Battling down the front stretch now, we've got Howie Briss to the inside of Elijah Gracia. Aaron Smith in front of these two. A spinner ahead, maybe. We've got a caution. Ariadne's around. We saw him battling with the 9 car of Patrick Colby. Something has gone wrong quite clearly, and Ariadne will have to get back going.
Yeah, when we checked in on that battle a few laps ago, Colby and Adi were pretty much side by side, but the last that we saw it when those cars went by our camera frame, it looked as though there was some separation between those two. So, and Adi is running here by himself, so we'll see if Colby's going to close up here relatively quickly, but there's a chance here that Ariadne may have suffered a little bit of a problem while getting back into the gas. Let's see here. No, it happened to be under braking. The back end of that car just steps out by itself. He does a great job locking it down. Ooh, Sean Williams comes in and gives him some damage there on the left front. And we also saw Hayes Boots slide in late. But Ariadne all by himself having problems there in 1 and 2.
I mentioned earlier, and I think that's a perfect example of it, is just how difficult the entry of turn 1 and turn 3 is. We're going to ride on board with Spencer Ray looking up above to see how... or up ahead to see how this incident fares around his part of the field. But again, I think it was part of the, the tires wearing, the angle of the entry of the corner, and the changing banking. A lot of factors, I think, went wrong there for the 23 of Ariadne.
You see the Mike Bliss throwback spinning up ahead. Spencer Ray gets into the 1, and he gets hit by Michael Keithley, and they all kind of pile in on the bottom side there of turns 1 and 2. Definitely some misfortune up at the front of the field. This might be the first time that we see some pit stops from the front, though, and it is, as Chad Oxendine is going to lead some drivers down the pit lane. Will Klein joins him, Tyler Justice, Ashley Molyneux, Cole Freilich, and more. But David Schutt and Hayes Booth, albeit with some damage, staying out under this caution period. What do you say we grab our current, well, who was our race leader, Chad Oxendine, for a quick interview, Eric?
Thanks a lot, Andrew, and we'll get Chad Oxendine in here. And Chad, there's something about you and this racetrack. I mean, you appear to be in your own zip code. What is it about North Wilkesboro that you're so comfortable with and that you just seem to be a leg up when it comes to the competition?
Man, I don't really know. I just always loved this track ever since they put it on the service. And really any short track, but for some reason here and me match up pretty well. So we got this Frank's Red Hot machine and running good and running hot, so hopefully we can keep her up here.
You got 2 starts on the season out of 3. This will be your 3rd start of the season. What are the chances, perhaps, Chad, that we see that car in victory lane if things keep running as smoothly as they are?
Yeah, if I can keep this track position up towards the front here, and I think we got as good a shot as anybody, so I'm excited about our chances here. Hopefully we can just keep this track position.
Well, we'll let you get back to work. We're a lap away from the restart. Chad Oxendine, great job tonight. Hopefully we talk to you a little bit more later on.
Sounds good, guys. Thank you. Enjoy the race up there.
Chad Oxendine are going to restart from the 3rd position on the inside of row number 2. Your race leader is David Schutt, choosing the outside line. That's going to bunch things up, and that's intelligent there from David Schutt to put his best competition thus far in Chad Oxendine behind the slow car of this damaged car of Hayes Booth. We get back rolling, and Hayes out of the way quickly. No, he's back up in front of the racing line.
Oh, and that's going to bottleneck the whole field. Only gets in the fucking head. The points leader at Hayes Booth crashed off turn 2.
Oh my goodness. And we're staying green. They're off the racing surface. So they got to get around and get back going quickly and, stay out of the way of the leaders. But up front, David Schutt under a heavy attack. Heavy fire from Will Klein on the fresh tires. Around the outside he goes.
Will Klein taking a poke at the race lead, bringing Ashley Molyneux along with, and David Schutt just cannot hang on to the bottom side. And finally, Will Klein takes the race lead at the line that time by to complete lap 53. There goes Ashley Molyneux on by as well. 4th place now to Tommy Gossett as Chad Oxendine battles back into the top 5.
We just heard from Oxendine, who was counseling a bit of patience here after being stuck on the bottom lane. He navigated his way around the damaged car of Hayes Booth, missed the crash that happened off turn 2, and now he's got David Schutt and Tommy Gossett side by side out the front windshield. He'll duck in line behind Gossett, who was on a similar tire strategy as that of Oxendine, while Schutt is on the older rubber in the field right now, and he's going to be hanging on for dear life. But here they come on the bottom. It's going to be Oxendine taking over 4th, following Tommy Gossett, and there's a freight train of cars led by Cole Freilich, going to try to follow them through as they come out of 2.
That was a big blink for Freilich. I was worried there. But I think David Shutt here, I know he's on the, the older tires right now, and there's caution on the speedway. Looks like that's Justin Ford around.
Justin Ford with problems in turn number 2, and we'll see what happens to him on this latest incident. And man, that's troublesome for Hayes Booth and Daniel Falkingham off of that restart. Hayes Booth has all the right in the world to keep racing, but man, that did not work out pretty clearly. Zach Lindgren slow up top of Justin Ford. I don't think that's going to have any effect on this, though, as Ford clears the 85 by turn 1, and much like Ariati, just chasing the rear of the race car into the corner. Oh my gosh, Zach, that was all too close.
Yeah, ended up catching the right side of Zach Lindgren's car. There went Falkingham, was blitzing by on the outside of Justin Ford after that car went around. And this caution is going to be a big break for Falkingham, who, remember, as we heard Emerson say, when that wreck happened, the race stayed green. Falkingham was about a half lap or more behind the leaders after that incident. And here's Zach Lindgren going to try to squeeze at the bottom. Low, you couldn't even tell they made contact, but I believe it was slight on the right side. If not, it was very close.
Woo, man, 85 got lucky. But yeah, I agree. I think Falkingham and who else was there? Hayes Booth involved in that early incident, or that incident on the restart. Huge, I guess, save for huge save of their race with this caution. Falkingham, man, getting lucky again, just with the timing of the cautions, and stays on lead lap, and we could easily see him back up here, depending on how bad the car is damaged, or how not bad the car is damaged.
Under this latest caution period, what do you say we grab league owner John Barry momentarily and talk with him under this caution period? We'll grab the driver of the 74, and John, it's certainly been a tumultuous start to the season for you. How are you feeling tonight in the 74 car?
I'm feeling pretty good. I just have to avoid the carnage that's going around constantly. It's been kind of a mess out here, but I was kind of expecting it. But outside of that, it's been all right.
Certainly some damage to the nose of that car, the rear of that car. How are you trying to stay out of trouble out there?
Well, if I want to stay out of trouble, I want to take this thing back the gate on the back straightaway and just leave the track. But unfortunately, I'm stuck here for the next, 116 laps. So I just got to avoid the minefield of cars around me as best I can. And honestly, it seems like the bottom is like the better option to miss the wrecks.
Yeah, certainly a multi-groove race so far. Where do you want to file into once this run gets going, if it gets running?
It kind of seems like the second lane off the bottom seems to be a little slightly better than the exact bottom. But, yeah, I say like the bottom middle seems to be pretty good.
Well, that's actually great info for us. John, we'll leave you to it. We'll let you get things going here in the 74 car.
All right, thank you very much.
That's John Barry, also known as Revan Lateralis, owner of NORC, and currently going to be restarting from the 9th position on the inside of row number 5. Will Klein, your race leader. Ashley Molyneux, 2nd place. Tommy Gossett, 3rd. They get going out of turn 4. A great launch for Klein. Holding things steady in the 2nd or 3rd row are all of these drivers so far. Very clean down to turn 3. David Shutt sorts himself back into this lineup, but still has not pitted. I mentioned these drivers, they only have 3 sets of tires. He's clearly saving his for the end.
Yeah, that's going to be something that we keep an eye on here, as he may have an extra set, and the way the cautions are falling, it may fall right into his lap if he can keep the car pointed in the right direction. Chad Oxendine up ahead of him. We just spoke to him not that long ago. He's back up to 3rd, was using the outside lane to make some passes, as Bobby Gossett's going to follow through. Oh, big bobble there by Shutt. That's the risk you take when you stay out on older tires. That car is loose on the bottom, and he's giving up a spot now to Tyler Justice, and there's more cars coming up top. There goes John Berry as well, as Owens clipped the wall in 3.
And right here you are seeing, the big reason why you would want to save a set of tires is so hopefully all these cars going by you on the outside right now, or cars are going to be going by on the outside later in the race when you have that set of tires. But I'm a little worried. I hope he doesn't fall too far back. That's maybe a little too difficult to overcome, with so many cars going by him here. Now, I know it's a long race. At this point, we're coming to like 110 laps to go at this point. But he's getting into some rough water here, and if he drops any further back, he might be in the heart of the storm.
A slip up for Freilich, a misstep out of turn 2, falls victim to Tyler Justice here in 3 and 4, and this battle gets going again. We've seen these two drivers go at it a lot this evening. They're going at it once more with Spencer Owens in tow, John Barry there as well. They are fighting for the 5th spot as opposed to the 3rd spot like they were earlier on, and I guarantee you that 7 car is just a little bit better on the bottom side.
Yeah, Tyler Justice is somebody who appears to be able to adapt whatever lane he needs to as Owens gets loose again that time out of turn 4. Gets loose in a 1. Hang on, Spencer. What a save. We were on board with him. Look at him turn that car to the right to keep it pointed in the right direction. He gave up 7th, at least for now, to John Berry. I believe he's got Smith up alongside. He does, but he's still got a clean race car.
The more you watch these drivers have their trouble into turn 1 and that amazing save by Spencer Owens, the more you appreciate the drivers who are able to get this done. I mean, this is a tough little track. Not only is it a short track, and short tracks are tough in their own right, and there's so many different challenges, and again, all of the different characteristics to this track and the old surface and all that. Oh, there's almost contact in the back of the field. We keep watching here. Actually, he was right there on the camera as well with Elijah Gracia. This track just provides so many challenges, and I really respect the drivers who are able to run a lot of fast laps around here.
How about Tom Mercier, his best showing of the season so far? This is certainly a driver's racetrack, looking like he's up to the challenge this evening. Up into the top 15, very close to the top 10. He's only got to get by that 70 car if he wants to get into the 10th position. Pancari ahead as well, and Tom Mercier ripping the bottom side right now, right down on that concrete curb. The 68 is looking pretty good this evening.
I think smooth would be a good way to describe Tom Mercier right now as he works underneath Aaron Smith for a position that would put him up in, I guess I'm jinxing him there. We saw him bobble out of turn number 2. That would put him up into the top 10 if he can complete the pass. And oh, Spencer Owens is not going to save that one. He slides onto the pit lane that time. And unfortunately for Owens, we're going to stay green, and he is married to the pit lane right now.
And yeah, he's off the racing surface, and he's going the correct direction down pit lane. So there is no need for a caution. But man, with Tom Mercier, he just really he was loose and still drove right on by Aaron Smith. I am amazed with the move Tom Mercier did down into turn 3.
And all of that calamity promotes him into the top 10 as well as David Schutt continues to slide now into 13th, losing that position to Howie Briss as Howie works the top side of that 5 car. Patrick Colby coming, Sean Williams, Daniel Falkingham as well. A lot of these drivers on comeback drives, especially that of Daniel Falkingham.
Yeah, Falkingham, who we saw in the wall here out of turn number 2 after contact with Hayes Booth while running up to the top 10. Oh,
Michael Keithley
behind him. Yeah, indeed, that was Michael Keithley. Now he's in the grass. Hang on, Michael. Boy, he got that thing slowed down before spearing traffic there in turn number 3. That could have been another cause for a caution. However, the field will continue on. But yeah, Falkingham is somebody who's on a bit of a roll here, trying to get back up through this pack. And that was even after he had the accident down in turn 2. And look at him send it down to the bottom side of Patrick Colby, trying to continue to work his way forward. That's a fight for 14th.
Great job from Keithley to keep it out of the field. And Falkingham, man, he's been from the back to the front, from the front to the back, and looking to go from the back to the front once again in just 77 laps at this point. He goes to the inside of David Schutt. Can he make it stick for 13th? He's still going to be side by side. Also moving forward with Daniel Falkingham is Zoltan Herkzeg, but we keep watching this battle. Falkingham up the inside of Schutt. Schutt trying to keep the momentum around the outside.
He's going to work the bottom side here in turns 3 and 4, and there's a mismatch of wear on these tires by almost 60 laps between the 20 and the 5, and finally Falkingham gets on by the 5 car of David Schutt. And you know what? I say there's a mismatch in tire wear. Maybe not. Falkingham could have just taken fuel and repairs, as it looks like Patrick Colby is slow out of turn 2. He keeps it rolling, but he is very slow on the bottom side of 3 and 4. I think a pretty good save there and keeps things rolling for the number 9 car. Up front, Will Klein still leading this race. Ashley Molino in behind. Chad Oxendine in third. And these are 3 of the drivers, certainly, that I think about anytime NORC comes to a short track. We've seen Ashley so close to wins before. I think of Richmond, I believe last season, fighting with Josh Robin for that one. We've got Chad Oxendine, who won here last season. And Will Klein is always somebody that you've got to watch out for.
Yeah, and one of the things that stands out to me about the way in which this field is running is just how they are pretty much able to check out from everybody else behind. And it doesn't appear that they're pressing the issue all that much. Granted, Will Klein did what he had to do to get into P1 for now. Ashley Molyneux and Chad Oxendine have been at the front of the pack pretty much all night long. But the one thing that stands out to me, which we haven't had the opportunity to hear from either Ashley or Will, is the level of confidence that Oxendine feels with this racetrack. When we asked him the question, he just says, yeah, I know that I'm good here. And as we see it, he's making the move on Ashley Molyneux for second spot, but Chad has an air of confidence about him that may be very hard to beat as he has now moved up into the second spot, and we're inching closer to halfway in this race, and Oxendine appears ready to try and pounce if he can get up there to Will Klein and battle for this race lead.
Confidence and the mindset you have going into a race almost makes your entire race. You have to be thinking positive if you're going to be going positive in the positions in this race, or in any race, really. Chad Oxendine, man, that is that is a type of swagger I wish I could have going into really any race, and it's just kind of going with the way he's moving forward. We drop back here, riding on board with Tom Mercier as he's looking forward at Pancari and Cole Freilich for this 7th position battle.
One car on the inside, that's Michael Keithley. Down low will keep racing green flag as the 53 has problems. The 35, though, switch that number around, and he is inside the top 10, working to the inside of Cole Freilich as well. Takes that spot away, move Pancari up to 7th, although here comes Cole Freilich back on the outside. A great fight from that, I want to say Rick Mastro back there for the 15 car. Racing Nation TV on the back as the slide out of turn 2 for Tom Mercier. Thankfully, the Massachusetts, I can't think of, Bostoner, Bostonite, whatever the heck he is, he's a fellow Patriots fan, and he's in the top 10.
We'll call him a New Englander. There you go. I cheated. I used the scoring ticker on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. But it's been a great run so far tonight for Mercier. And when we talk about the points, I mean, these are two drivers who are trying to take advantage of the short track portion of this slate. Cole Freilich has made all 3 starts, as has Tom Mercier. They find themselves mired outside the top 20 in points coming into tonight's race as we hit halfway at North Wilkesboro. And when we talk about points in the championship complexion, a very loose Daniel Falkingham in 1 and 2. That was a big moment for the points leader, who has just not been able to hit his stride here tonight.
I mean, this is Falkingham really, trying as hard as just trying to move forward. He was right up to Aaron Smith. He was just knocking on 11th position, 1 spot outside the top 10. We know he can get up there into the top 10. He was 8th and battling for the positions just outside the top 5 earlier. And Falkingham, I think he's realizing, I feel like he should realize there's still a lot of laps left, but those laps do quickly tick down as well as it gets harder and harder to overtake the higher up the running order you get.
On board here with Zach Lindgren. Started 3rd position. Very quickly got sorted out of that spot and is now running 17th. A lot of damage on this HMS Motorsport Ford Mustang. Battles to the inside of David Schutt, trying to overtake the 5 car for the 16th spot. And if he can get by Sean Williams, that, of course, would be for 15th. Team TCB listed on the back end of that 89 car. You can see it just under the left rear tail light. And TCB, unfortunately, has sorted himself out into the last position this evening, 29th of 29. Not sure what went on to end his day, but he is out of this race as Schutt is going to fall victim to the 85 car. Maybe not, as the HMS Racecom Ford Mustang had to check up there on the bottom side of turn 1.
And I will say, Schutt is doing an amazing job on these older tires hanging on, but for this strategy to work, we saw most of the leaders come down already once so far tonight. For this to work, Schutt's going to have to be able to have at least 2 more opportunities to come down and put rubber on, and hopefully have enough cars on the lead lap in order to make up enough positions here to make it worth his while. But we saw Tommy Gossett there momentarily before we cut into our replay transition graphic, and he was battling with Tyler Justice here for a position up inside the top 10. And let's see what happened here in that Skull Bandit retro scheme. He gets a little bit loose there in the middle of 1 and 2, washes way out wide, and Justice is able to easily go on by. But we see even some of the drivers who we would pencil in as potential favorites also struggling with being able to get the rear tires hooked up on this racetrack as we continue on now past the halfway point in this event.
What a catch there from Tommy Gossett. We saw a very similar...
Justin Ford!
Justin Ford!
Are we going to stay green after that one? No. Caution flag going to halt our progress. Lap 95 of 175. And this, the second incident here for Justin Ford. He's going to get that car rolling again on the bottom side of the racetrack. Here come Ariati, Jared Darling, and some others. The pace car as well, ripping up to the top side to rejoin the field.
Yeah, unfortunately for Justin Ford, this is a night that he is not going to want to remember from North Wilkesboro, at least for now. He's still got a long way to go, but keeping your nose clean is objective number one, and he's been involved in a couple of incidents tonight, as has Hayes Boot just in front of him. And as they come off the corner, well, it's not going to happen that time. We're going to have to wait here at least a lap, but you see both he and Hayes nursing a little bit of damage. Hayes probably a little bit more worse for wear in that discount tire number 11 that's up in front of him. Ford trying to work the bottom side here for a position that was outside the top 20 at the time. And you see Hayes run up the racetrack there slightly. And I believe, yeah, I'm not sure from that angle if Hayes came down or Ford came up. But nevertheless, those two may have touched a little bit out of two.
There's a little bit more to this incident. I saw Bobby Cheney go around at the same time. And I don't think he was in the same vicinity as the 00 Justin Ford. But yeah, just getting on the throttle a little too early here. And into turn one is Bobby Cheney.
I think that's the spin that brings out the caution flag as opposed to the 00 being off of the racetrack. So caution flag nonetheless going to halt our progress and hold things up a little bit just shy of lap 100 in this race. Will Klein, the race leader, he has led now 43 laps here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway, and he did just pit, and I'd imagine took 4 tires along with the rest of the field. I don't see anybody staying out this time, all the way back to Ariati, who, well, you know what, Ariati does stay out, but he's waiting on a wave around along with Jared Darling, so those drivers don't really count in that little lump sum. So Will Klein, the race leader. What do you say we grab somebody else here on an interview, Eric? We're going to give you the workout here, talking to several different drivers. Let's bring in 7th place, Brett Pancari.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And Brett Pancari, a name in which we've been watching work your way up through the ticker so far. Been a wild start to this race, but it's settled into a bit of a rhythm. 26 up to 7th. What are your thoughts on how your race has unfolded so far here? As it appears you got a really good, stable race car underneath you tonight.
Well, hopefully it's stable enough. I've been laying the back, trying to avoid all the chaos. And in all honesty, car's not bad. I just got to try to manage the tires. But I think now, getting later in the race, all hell's going to break loose, I think.
Well, hopefully you're on the good side of that, Brett. I see where I want to go. We'll let you get back to work. But good luck the rest of the night, my friend.
All right, thanks.
Great little chance to talk with Brett Pancari real quick, kind of touch base with the driver of the 35 car. We'll see what he can do, restarting from the 7th position on this restart. Just to the inside of points leader, Daniel Falkingham. Will Klein, the race leader. We'll see what he can do, and if he can get another great launch on the inside of Chad Oxendine, he does exactly that, and he will lead back down to turn 1. Down the backstretch of turn number 3, they get things sorted out, but how about Tom Mercier? He's up in this battle. Ashley Mono now to the inside of Tyler Justice, taking a spot away. Maybe is that 45. The 7 fights back, and they'll keep battling.
And look at the pair that's battling behind him as well. That's Daniel Falkingham, fresh out of all the troubles we highlighted here tonight alongside of Tommy Gossett, trying to work his way up into the top 5 for what I believe would be the first time tonight. That's a man that will never say die in that 20 car, and he solidifies himself in 5th, but he's got a close fight up ahead as the caution is out yet again.
Hayes Booth goes round in turn 4, and man, the going gets rough once again for Hayes Booth. We'll get a replay here, and man, oh man, you really feel for him.
Justin Ford, a lot of troubles this evening. Hayes Booth as well, and just steps the rear of the race car out and goes around a lazy spin there in turns 3 and 4. And one thing I'm noticing, these drivers clearly having some trouble turning the race car this evening. We've talked about it before, Eric. Let's talk about it one more time. The difference in packages coming to a racetrack like North Wilkesboro. Here you go. The super speedways, you get a pretty good size front splitter, a taller yet narrower rear spoiler along with the skirt underneath the rear fascia of the race car. But everywhere else, North Wilkesboro included, a much smaller front splitter and a much shorter but wider rear spoiler. I think what that's doing to these race cars is making them very hard to turn. Very little front downforce, and these guys are dialing a lot of rear brake into their race cars and going for spins like that. We've seen it time and time again now into turn 1, now in turn 3 as well. They are simply running too much rear brake bias.
Yeah, and some people may say, oh, this doesn't matter on a short track. Well, if you go back and watch the Xfinity Series races at a Martinsville or a Phoenix that took place already this year, they will tell you, yes, it does matter, and it is mattering for these competitors as well. As you can see, 6 cautions for a series. Oh, I'm sorry, that's 8 cautions that we've had so far. I was a little bit optimistic there on my initial count. For 32 laps, 5 lead changes as well, but I believe this is not the last of the yellow flags that we're going to see here tonight, unfortunately, but the race is ticking off fast. We've already eclipsed the halfway point here. As you can see, we got about 70 laps to go. So I'm fearful that the aggression is just going to ramp up even more so, especially at the front of the field. And we may not be done with parading around behind the pace car.
Yeah, into the second half of this race now, the intensity is just going to continue to pick up. And the cautions keep coming. That can really help out David Schutt if he can really get some tires on at some decent intervals in this final half of the race. But yeah, the aero of these cars, it's really by yourself not as much. It's really a factor in the thick of that pack where I was watching nearly 4 and 5 wide come off of turn 4 in that last restart.
So we'll sort things out. We'll get back green flag racing this time around. It looks like Will Klein still your race leader. We'll see how it works out for him. I'd imagine another pretty good launch off of this restart. I want to talk to Atomic Ray real quick in the NORC YouTube chat. I just want to say I appreciate you saying I add a whole lot to the commentary. You know what? I'll miss the Radioactive and being a part of Radioactive as well, but certainly appreciate the kind comments as we get ready to go for lap 108 this time around. Will Klein, your race leader, still over Chad Oxendine. Bit of a checkup up top, and that's really going to affect the back end of this field. Rewind through turns 1 and 2. Gracia up top. Briss in the middle. Freilich down low. Contact! Oh, the save! Cole! How about it?
And boy, if you're Howie Brish, you cannot afford to be involved in another crash. But how about Zoltan Herczak try to work his way through? And how about this battle up here in the top 3 with Ashley Molyneux down low. And then we've got Tyler Justice up top. Points leader, Daniel Falkingham just behind. How often have these two run 1 and 2 so far this season on a number of occasions? Justice now trying to find victory lane for the first time this season. And he'll move up to third while Oxendine huts the lead in 1. Contact! And Will Klein crashes in the first corner.
Oh my goodness, that's I think that sums up this evening. Two very very fast drivers going at it and getting together for the top spot. But we'll get the replay here. Speechless is all I am.
The inside goes Oxendine, and Will Klein, I think, just ran him a little bit too far down the racetrack. I think this will be very controversial of me to say. I think Oxendine was well vested in his effort to go down to the bottom side at that time. We're at least past lap 100 this time, as opposed to when Will Klein did this to David Schutt earlier in the race, or I think it was Bobby Cheney. Regardless, no, it was somebody else. I forget who it was at this point, but he went to the inside and turned somebody around. That's what matters, and I think Oxendine was much more justified to the inside this time than Will Klein was on lap 5. And I think Klein just took all the room away. I don't think there was any way with the 48 that far down the racetrack, unfortunately, that they would have made it through there. And I'm not trying to just sit here and rag on Will. I think just situationally, that was an okay move.
Yeah, I mean, Chad had a really good run out of turn before that time. We're going to get another look at it here. And Will Klein now running his conventional line. The last 2 restarts have been very interesting for me because they've been taking everybody out up towards the wall. Now, granted, Oxendine's not at the door yet, but quarter panel. Right there, I'd say he's inside. And, I mean, you can tell there's a little bit of net code that was involved there because there was some separation between the 66 and 48. But, I mean, he was at his quarter panel before they came into the corner. He kept his traditional line down low. And I think, we've seen the outside line work here tonight. We've seen drivers be able to get a run well up into that second groove. And, unfortunately, Will didn't really give himself the opportunity to try to do so. He went with the pinching method, and it cost him there down to the first turn. So, the bad luck for Will Klein continues on. We mentioned he was outside of the cut line coming into this race, and he's still got time to make it up, and we can expect more carnage as this race unfolds. But I'm with you, Andrew. I'm not necessarily sure that was the best move there at that point in the race.
I'll support Will's move. I mean, granted, it got him spun into the outside wall in the sense that he's going against Chad Oxendine, who he already knows can get past him and drive away from him. this was almost like his last chance. Now, granted, I know we're going to get a lot of restarts, but for him to have control of this race, I think he felt he needs to have this lead, and he was willing to get himself spun for it, if anything. I think that was the mentality in the 48 car.
So, Chad Oxendine in all of this gets promoted back to race leader. Tyler Justice now, the best shot that he will have at the lead all day long. He'll restart at second place, and still a lot of chances for anybody to get up to the front of this race field. We are taking 60 laps to go this time to restart the race. This next time by the flag stand. 60 laps to go. I like what you guys are saying out in the chat, saying that's short track racing. Boy, is it ever. And I think Denny Hamlin and Joey Logano could both agree that that is just short track race at that time in turn number 1. And 60 to go this time for the 66 car. And Tyler Justice on the outside. I can't wait to see how this one shakes out. We'll take the speed shot for it, and we'll let you watch as they race down to turn number 1. Oxendine moved up high to block Tyler Justice's advances, and Justice slots into the second place then, just in front of the hard-charging Daniel Falkingham. How about that move to race with Ashley Molyneux?
And let's give a call to Ashley Molyneux, because I'll tell you what, I'm very impressed with her performance so far here tonight. It's been an incredible job to not only be up front, qualify up front, but stay up front, and now run alongside who's been the most dominant driver in the first 3 races of this season, and Daniel Falkingham. And Ashley certainly giving him a run for his money as we're 3 wide off the corner. Elijah Gracia, Howie Briss nearly banged doors. And remember, David Schutt, who flexed his muscle to start this race, got off tire strategy, plummeted down the running order. He's trying to work his way back up through the field. He's alongside of Cole Freilich for what would be a fight for 8th.
I'm really interested to see David Schutt come to life here as he has to move forward. Tommy Gossett had a huge moment down the front straightaway, still sliding into turn 1, trying to stay out of the 96 of Zoltan Herczeg. I was just about to say, along with Falkingham, Tommy Gossett had issues earlier in this race, and he's worked his way forward. He's going to lose a couple spots after that exchange. He's down to 6. We continue back to this battle here with Gracia trying to fend off Howie Briss and get to the outside of Cole Freilich there.
Well, Klein is in all of this mess, albeit a few rows further back. He's in behind Patrick Colby and Jared Darling through turns 1 and 2. Colby a little bit loose. They hang on to it for now, and down the front stretch they will race. Zach Lindgren, he's in all of this. He's to the inside of John Barry. Try to take a spot away now from Howie Briss. Even Elijah Gracia, the 85, who started 3rd, quickly got taken out of it, could get back into the top 10 here shortly.
Yeah, we talk about the people in the chat talking about good short track racing. Look at some of the body work on some of these cars. Everybody's been through the war zone of North Wilkesboro Speedway tonight in this 4th race of the NORC season in 2021. And we talk about Will Klein, who gets shuffled up to the outside. Remember, he's not afraid to send it 3 wide. And as these laps click off, we're coming up on 50 to go in a few laps from now. The level of desperation by some of these drivers who feel like they have a good piece underneath them tonight is going to start to intensify. But we mentioned Ashley Molyneux. How about that? Up into 2nd, while Tyler Justice and Daniel Falkingham. And hello, Zoltan Herczeg. Nice to see you in the top 5 for what I believe may be the first time tonight. Quiet night for Zoltan, uncharacteristic for the driver who captured top honors in this series 1 year ago. And after starting 21st, he's up to 5th and maybe not done yet.
Yeah, he was around here, but I believe this is the first time he's cracked the top 5 today. And look, even as somebody, who's been showing the speed like Molyneux, even Chad Oxendine is just driving away from her. I think that kind of backs up what I was saying about Will Klein, man. He had to keep Oxendine at bay at all costs, because once you let Oxendine loose, he is gone. Look at that margin. Back here, Lindgren on Gracia. He's clear. No, here comes Gracia right back with the momentum around the outside, and now clear.
Oh, John Barry sideways at a 4, door slams the 97. They will keep racing somehow in turn 1, but a caution flag now out for Scott Shire. Oh, no, not even Scott Shire. It's Will Klein and Tom Mercier. Wow, they were pointed nose to nose somehow in turn 1. Let's find out how it happens.
Boy, when it rains, it pours for Will Klein. 1 minute you're in the battle for the lead. Next minute you're backwards for the 2nd time tonight in the same spot about 20 or so laps later. Here he is on the outside lane behind that of Sean Williams. And, all right, so he came up on the back of Williams, got into the wall, and Tom Mercier had nowhere to go and ran into the back of him. So I'm not going to put that one on Tom there. I think Will Klein misjudged his entry to turn 1, and that created his second headache of the night so far, and it slows the field yet again.
Once again, Will Klein, I mean, he's in the thick of it. There's not a whole lot you can do. I mean, I guess, he could have been, more expectant of an earlier braking point. He also caught the wall there off of 4 and then got it there into 1, trying to, avoid the 89. So there's just a lot going on for that 48, along with the frustrations of being fast and being up front. All of a sudden, being at the back of the pack with 50 laps to go, in the thick of battle, and trying not to run over another car to get yourself damaged.
On this most recent stoppage of action, what do you say we talk to yet another race car driver this evening? I am looking for one in particular, and Eric, I'm going to hand her your way.
And I believe we're going to bring in Ashley Molyneux to the Pit Stop TV broadcast booth. And Ashley, I'll tell you what, your performance tonight has been out of this world. Really quick in qualifying, but you've stayed up there towards the top 5, and you haven't been hanging on. You drove your way back up into second place. What is it about this racetrack that makes you so eager and confident to get out there and run so well, which we expected based on your previous results, but this is a stacked field, and you're right up there in race-winning contention.
Honestly, with this track specifically, I don't really know. I tend to really love short tracks, and that tends to be where I excel. I almost won a couple races in NORC, I think in the 87 cars a few seasons back, but here particularly, it's kind of like a lot of other bull rings, where you have to do more or less the same thing every single lap, and I'm really, really good at that type of rhythm and consistency. That said, I have nothing for Chad. He's winning this.
That was going to be my next question. I admire your honesty, but let's play, if this is a positive outcome here. If we do get a long run and you get in that rhythm, do you have a chance maybe to get up and around Chad, or are you happy with where you're at right now?
I'd still be okay in second, but I really think it depends on how hard he pushes tires in that run, and I'm not really going to know until a few laps into this one.
Well, we want to wish you the best of luck. We see you're a lap away from getting back underway. Ashley Molyneux, our current runner-up, battling in contention here for a win at North Wilkesboro. Good luck, Ashley.
Thank you.
Well, Ashley Molyneux, the outside of row number 1 on this restart, and she is going to fight to the top side of Chad Oxidine. We'll see how that works out down to turn number 1. All afternoon long, it's been the leader with the launch off the start, but at some point, something's got to change, something's got to give, or so you might think. That time, not so much. We might have jinxed Ashley, bit of wheel spin on that start.
A little bit of wheel spin that time for Ashley on the outside lane, and Zoltan Herczeg is going to try to fill the hole in the bottom lane here to move up in a second, and we got a caution right away that will slow this field again, and fortunately for Ashley Molyneux, that's going to keep her in the second spot, but Patrick Colby has evidently had a problem.
Yeah, I mean, the wrestling that Ashley had to do to try to hold on to that second spot, she got, I think, really lucky with the timing of this caution, but this happens here at the back of the pack. Once again, a lot of things happen. 3, maybe 4 wide there, shut on the inside. It's not even shut. It sends Patrick Colby around there up on the outside. That was a darker car. Could not really get a positive idea on who that was.
Tyler Justice that puts things 3 wide, almost 4 wide there in the middle of the racetrack. Is going to send Patrick Colby spinning. This is another one. I got to knock this move, certainly. Tyler Justice, the only driver to finish on the podium in all 3 races so far. I think that's going to change this evening, certainly based on getting caught up in this one. Just pokes his nose into the middle of those 2 cars. There's nowhere to go. That said, he may have just misjudged it, may not have intended to go through those cars, and sends Colby spinning nonetheless.
But I will say that for Tyler Justice to be back there, looks as though that he's altered up his pit strategy here a little bit. He was running up towards the front, so that's going to be something to keep our eye on here as well as this race unfolds, because we're kind of running out of opportunities for these drivers to mix things up. There's going to be 40 to go next time by, and David Shutt is somebody we're keeping in mind as far as getting off strategy, or at least one of the first to get off strategy. So, and we're proving how much tires matter by how loose these cars are getting as they start to put a little bit of age on the rubber. So that's something to really keep in mind here with Justice being back there. Unfortunate for him that he got involved in that bit of an incident, but he's only marked back at about the 14th spot.
To add to that point real quick, Eric, David Schutt pitted 7 laps ago under caution period, along with everybody behind him. So 1st through 12th, sans Daniel Falkingham, who has somehow moved himself up into 7th. They are all on the same strategy or similar strategy. They haven't pitted in over 20 laps. However, David Schutt, Tyler Justice, Tommy Gossett, Jared Darling, Tom Mercier, Hayes Booth, you keep any name down here, and they have pitted in the last 10 laps, if not sooner. In fact, some under this yellow flag period: Aaron Smith, Justin Ford, Scott Shire, Patrick Colby in that group.
So that means that either the drivers up front are going to have to make their bet and stay in it for the rest of this race, or they're going to have to come in and things are going to cycle through, and we're going to be in for an even crazier finish and run to the checkers.
Man, I just saw how many laps Daniel Falkingham has on his tires. He is going to be exciting to watch, man. I cannot wait for yet another restart. But, man, the action on these restarts, it is there in full force.
We'll see how it works out this time. Rinse and repeat, re-rack them, restack them for a restart. 137 coming to 138 this time by 175 laps here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. It's been a fun one. There's a whole lot more to happen, though. It's Oxendine, Molyneux, Herczeg, Pancari, Lindgren, your top 5, then Freilich, Falkingham, Gracia, and more to make up the top 10. Out of turn number 4, waiting. Green flag as Oxendine pulls a gap on the field, but Molyneux much closer to turn 1. The whole field goes on by now to turn number 3. Molyneux still all over the back end of Chad Oxendine. What can she do from that second position? She doesn't sound too optimistic, but she's got a great race car underneath her.
And Molyneux did a great job being able to hook the bottom that time through 3 and 4. And look at her try to square up the corner here on the exit and get a good run down the back straightaway. Boy, Ashley's really putting a lot of pressure on Chad Oxendine, who I would say has the dominant car up to this point of the race. Brett Picari running just behind in 3rd. But right now we've got Oxendine and Molyneux running in the top 2 positions. And you see the differing lines between those two.
Zoltan Hertzeg had a slide in turn 3. We stay green, but this battle, Molyneux, this is pretty much, this is it. Like, she has to stay with Oxendine and pressure him into a mistake or find a way alongside of them to really have a shot here, because she's not going to win just riding behind the 66, but she's got to stay with him as well.
She's doing a good job of varying the lineup, but I think you do want to run a little bit higher to save some tire here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Coming up close to 30 laps to go in Wilkes County. We've got a battle here for 4th and 5th. Zach Lindgren now bringing the fight here to Daniel Falkingham. Not a battle that I would have expected based on the differences in tire wear from these two. It may have been Falkingham going on by the 85, and I do think it was, looking at how they're starting to change things up. Although, I don't know. Zach is still looking pretty sporty on the bottom side, even with all that damage.
Weren't we talking about Zach Lindgren being involved in a couple of incidents here despite showing some speed throughout the night and even throughout his short NORC season so far? I mean, we saw he started 3rd, got swept up in some incidents, but he's still holding down a spot in the top 5. But here comes Tyler Justice just behind. We mentioned how he was involved in the last caution, and he did have fresh rubber on that 7 car, and he is cutting a trail to the front with a number of competitors who we typically see at the top of the running order when these races come down for the checkers. Does Justice have enough time? Has he played the tire strategy right? He's working the outside on Lindgren to get to the top 5.
We continue to watch. I mean, this is insane. Here comes Justice to the inside. Can he make it stick? He's got the better tires on Lindgren, and I think he's just going to power by into turn 3. He will. And now Tyler Justice moves right behind the only other driver ahead of him on the tire strategy that he's on, Daniel Falkingham. 4th, Tyler Justice 5th. Again, Daniel Falkingham, our point leader, Tyler Justice with the podiums. We fall back here to the battle with Jared Darling and John Barry. But those two running up front, that's not a surprise. It's a surprise how they're up there to me.
Zoltan Herczeg working on his comeback drive. He's got 50-lap-old tires to the inside of a similarly worn-out 74 car of John Barry. He lifts that time in, but man, Elijah Gracia got close that time to turn number 1. And I'm noticing a gap starting to close up. Well, it looks like definitely Zach Lindgren losing some pace here. But this gap right here, The two at the top of the point standing is going to have to do battle at North Wilkesboro if they want to get to the front of this field. They're 4th and 5th. Tyler Justice and Daniel Falkingham. Reverse that. That's your points order as Falkingham tries to get on by the 7 car.
And we talked many a times this season about Tyler Justice and his performance. He's another name that we mentioned that was one of 9 who have had the strong and impressive run by finishing every lap run this season. But he is the only driver, courtesy of our statistician Andrew Cardinale IV, who has finished in the top 5 in all 3 races to start the season. He's in the top 5 here, just got around Brett Picari to take over 3rd. He has the freshest tires in the field. At Emerson, he has finished runner-up twice this season. He does not want to be second no more. He put himself on a different strategy, and he is cutting his way up to the front of the pack. He's got 2 cars left to go to grab the lead at North Wilkesboro.
I think Tyler Justice is tired of the second place finishes and the podiums. He wants to be the top step of that podium, if anything, and he's proven it here. I was shocked because he's on the same strategy as Daniel Falkingham. He just powered by him, and Falkingham now losing a spot to Tommy Gossett. Falkingham might have used up those tires.
Well, Gossett's got new tires as well, and he fights the inside of Falkingham. But keep in mind, Falkingham didn't necessarily take tires that last trip down the pit lane. He may not have had for Mr. Feelgoods to put on that number 20 car. These guys using tires early, maybe out of tires now. David Shutt, though, he went plenty of laps, I think 90 or so on that first set. He's fighting back into the top 10. In fact, he's looking to get back into the top 5, right in behind Tommy Gossett and Daniel Falkingham as Justice powers up to Molyneux.
And I think we're starting to approach that window where even if you got tires left in the pit area, you can't afford to come and get them now. I mean, we're coming up on about 20 to go in 2 laps. When you figure cautions, if they last about 5 or 6 laps in length, you're talking 15 or so laps. With so many cars in the lead lap, as a matter of fact, make that 24, you're not going to come in and get tires. You pretty much are in whatever state you're in now, and you got to run that out to the finish. While Shutt is trying to pick off Falkingham here for 6th spot, and Justice has not been able to make as much ground on the front runners as I thought, but he has caught Molyneux now for second place. And a caution is out, so this is going to be Judgment Day as Zoltan Herczeg is in a crash with Cole Freilich off 4.
And they both got together in turn 3. I can't wait to see this replay because they were battling really hard. The strategies clashing, and we'll see on this replay really how this all breaks down. Well, they're coming into 1 here, so we're going to watch this whole lap play out. But it is Zoltan behind Freilich, so I believe this is Zoltan trying to get around Cole off of turn number 2.
We're going to watch a few laps here as Klein got the wall behind these drivers. This was laps earlier, and that shoves the 15 up the racetrack. Cole Freilich, one of the most hot-headed drivers in this field. You guys watching will know that. He got back to Zoltan Herczeg that time, repaid the favor, and this continues on. How about that bump? We've seen tempers flare here before. We're seeing it again. What happens to change this up? Oh, that's intentional for sure. That has got to be intentional. If it isn't, my name is Gary.
Well, I'm not going to call you Gary, but I will call you right. I'm sitting over here clapping because this is short track racing. This is what we love about places like that of North Wilkesboro or any other short track that we have on the slate here. And we said in the lead-in, this is an opportunity to get even. I meant due to things that have happened up to this point in the season, but these guys didn't even give it about a lap and a half to kind of settle in here before Zoltan elected to get even. Unfortunately, though, he took himself out in the process and suffered just as much damage and misfortune as that of Freilich. But that's why we love NORC. That's why we love North Wilkesboro. That's why we love when the two come together here on Pit Stop TV. And that may not be the last time we see tempers boil over. Hey, Emerson?
I don't think so. The intensity is just going to continue to pick up. And once again, I mean, look at the send into turn 3. That's pretty intentional. That boiled over really quickly. It's one of those things when you retaliate, all you see is red. You don't really care, or you don't think of the outcome while you are giving your payback until it's a little too late when you realize the outcome of your actions. So I think that's really what's going to bite Zoltan there. But I mean, we got a lot of laps to go. Well, not a lot of laps to go, but 15 laps to go, and restarts incoming.
Rule number 1 of stock car racing: if you're going to wreck somebody, don't wreck yourself. Danica Patrick learned that one the hard way, and now Zoltan Herczeg doing the same. But big changes up in the front, and Tyler Justice is your race leader over Tommy Gossett, Patrick Colby, Spencer Owens. These 4 stayed out. Spencer Ray on back. They came in. I'd imagine they took 4 good here, Eagles. Boy, I'm almost as bad as Zach Lindgren back at New Smyrna. But, man, 4 Goodyear Eagles on these race cars from Spencer Ray on back, Ashley Molyneux, Chad Oxendine, Daniel Falkingham. They've all switched positions up. I have no clue what's going to happen on this restart. 15 laps to go. This time by, and suddenly Tyler Justice may have his best opportunity. Well, he's got the race lead to power away with this race lead and win his first race in the NORC iRacing Series. Could it happen in race number 4 for driver of the number 7, or could Tommy Gossett just might get this one as well? Don't count out Patrick Colby. Green flag is out. 15 laps to go at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Almost 3 wide and 1 and 2. They are 3 wide and a 2. Molyneux up the middle. Big crash. Here we go. Vegas on Sunday, boys.
Yeah, and it looks like a Talladega-style wreck on the back straightaway. Remember, Paul Tracy alluded to that when we saw the IndyCar opener at Barber, and we've had a similar incident here. Ashley Molyneux, do not blame her at all. She had pressured tires, thought by going to the middle on Patrick Colby and Spencer Owens would be her potential race-winning move, which had Oxendine being buried behind her. She got into the gas here off 2, but Colby just came up a little bit too much, plus Owens came off the wall. She's able to continue on, though, while the rest of the field was not so lucky.
That is aggressive late race short track racing if I've ever seen it. And the grab bag of strategies up towards the front is what is the platter we were served on this restart, and it is what the field ate on the back straightaway. What a wild turn of events. I really thought maybe Patrick Colby had something in these final 15 laps, and then just whammo, there goes the field.
Big chunk on the back stretch. So many drivers involved. I don't think we can find all the drivers that would be listed in this one. Zach Lindgren may have gotten a piece. Jared Darling as well. This is the big one at North Wilkesboro here in the NORC iRacing Series. Let's take another look back at things and find out how we got here. Obviously, Molyneux, looking to go 3 wide, had a great run there on new tires, but I think you've got to be a little more patient than that. Colby moves up the racetrack, and it's just on from there. Certainly, Molyneux being aggressive, but Patrick Colby moved up on 2 other race cars.
Yeah, and I feel for Spencer Ray because I thought that maybe he played the pit strategy to perfection. And remember, he was caught up in the accident on lap 2 to start this race after qualifying in the top 4. Now he finds himself up there in the top 5 for a late race restart. Highest running driver on fresh tires for the driver here on the inside behind Patrick Colby. And just wrong place, wrong time. I mean, he's well off the outside lane, gets hit from behind, and pounds the inside guardrail on the backstretch. Fortunately, did not spin back up in front of traffic. But, boy, if you're Spencer Ray, I don't know what you have to do to catch a break here after showing so much speed on more than one occasion, bookending this race now with incidents that were not of his own doing.
It's unfortunately the case for a lot of short track racing. When you have something happen at the front of the field, really, in a lot of in any track with I was gonna say in any form of motorsport, really at the front of the field, a lot of people are gonna get caught up in it, and that's unfortunately what happened there. As we're doubled up and get ready to go for another restart.
If gap, car. That's all there is to it. Tyler Justice is going to lead us to the green flag this time by. We just took 10 laps to go. We'll have 9 when we restart. Tommy Gossett second, then Ashley Molyneux, who is definitely now battling some damage. Chad Oxendine back up into 4th, gets through that one. Daniel Falkingham has some damage. Brett Pinkari up there. David Shutt, Aaron Smith, John Berry, Zach Lindgren, your top 10. Down to turn number 1 we'll go. The restart is live. The green flag back out and jostling in behind. Pinkari down to the bottom side. Oh boy, what's going to happen here?
Out of turn number 2 they go with Oxendine trying to work the top side. How about Aaron Smith up into the top 10 here in that yellow number 70 car, trying to follow Brett Pinkari up through. Thought we had a car on the wall in 3. We'll see if we continue on under green. Leaders now heading down to turn number 1. Green flag stays out. Everybody funnels out wide into turn 1, and it is Justice the clear leader. Oxendine the dominator to second. This the fight for 3rd and 3.
Chad Oxendine, a huge entry into turn 3. I think he ate up half the margin there behind. Tommy Gossett had a moment off of turn 4. Molino will clear into 3rd. If they get feisty for the top 2, Molino's there and ready to pounce. And how about Brett Pancari clearing into 4th? Daniel Falking in the 5th. Here comes the battle. The inside is Chad Oxendine trying to get the run off of turn 4.
6 laps to go, 30 lap better tires for Oxendine. It's no match for the 7 car. He goes into 2nd position as Oxendine just drives on by. Now Ashley Molino going to take her shot here at the 7 car of Justice. Down to turn 3, down to the inside. Oh, catches the curve. It's not quite that easy, I guess. Chad Oxendine made it look though. And Daniel Falkingham, no front end on that race car after the restart. He's in behind Brent Pancari. David Shutt to the inside. You can see him correcting that race car. A big slide to turn 1, and a caution flag is back out. We might be going to overtime. Tommy Gossett in this one. This had to have been 6th, 7th on back because Zach Lindgren's also involved.
Yeah, we saw Tommy Gossett battling for position there, up well in the top 10. And I just want to say I stand corrected. I thought that you couldn't pit that late and make your way up through the field, and Chad Oxendine proved me dead wrong. So now that that's in the rearview mirror, here is Tommy Gossett battling alongside of Aaron Smith. You see there the number 85 just behind, and Zach Lindgren. Will Klein up in the mix as well. These cars double wide, about 3 rows deep. Lindgren knocks on the door, a little bump there, lets him catch it. It's Gossett on the bottom trying to catch it as they go into turn number 1, and that's all on Tommy, and he's going to know it. Unfortunately, it took out Zach Lindgren in the process after he battled his way back up in the top 10 contention, but boy, for Tommy Gossett, that's a heartbreaker there. And the old school look for what used to be the Skull Bandit, he finds trouble here in turn number 1, and I think this will in fact lead to a green-white checker.
With so few laps left in the race and you in the thick of the field, you almost forget you have to race the racetrack as well. If you're on board with John Barry, and you got a little too low of that preferred line, and wow, just the dive to the grass to avoid hitting Tommy Gossett there, and Zach Lindgren goes around as well.
There was clear contact from Barry to Lindgren's machine. Sends the 85 into a spin. Thankfully, not too much damage for the driver out of New Mexico. So, we are going NORC overtime for the first time this season, I do believe. If not, the only other time was Daytona. I believe the Nortona 500 went overtime. Regardless, we're going to extra distance here. Extra innings, if you will, with MLB The Show coming out today. Extra innings here at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. I have no clue what is about to happen here, guys. Literally could not give you a single prediction.
It's really hard to bet against Chad Oxendine, and I'm a betting person. You know, I will admit I love placing a little friendly wager on a game or a race or something like that. So if I had to put my money somewhere on the center of the table, I'm putting it on that red 66 right now, even though that's, you know, not something that one may consider well, let's see. Let me rephrase that here. Even though I'm not sure if that's exactly a number on the roulette wheel, but I'm going to make one up here. 66 is in fact red, so I'm putting my chips there.
I'll go 35. That is on the roulette wheel, I'm pretty sure. Towards the end, I think there's 36 numbers and the double zeros. So I'll go Brett Pancari. Just kind of, if they get feisty up front, I think he'll just kind of work his way through the smoke and the debris to the front.
I'm not sure how you bet against Chad Oxendine in this situation, but if I'm going to bet against Oxendine, it might just have to be in the form of Ashley Molino, bottom side of row number 2. She's clearly got the best shot to the back end of the 66 into turn 1, and with the way this race has gone, I wouldn't rule it out. Although I know Ashley will race clean. She will certainly give Oxendine plenty of room, but if anything is going to happen, it's going to happen from 3rd position. I don't think Falkingham can do it from 5th. I think Shutt's too far back. Pancari's in behind the very old tired number 7 car. Who knows what's going to happen on its final restart? Oxendine the best shot at it, but 2 laps to go. Extra distance here at North Wilkesboro. Green flag flies. We're racing to turn 1.
And that's an amazing restart for Oxendine, but Justice is going to go for it on the bottom side of the racetrack, trying to drop alongside of Oxendine, but the fresh tires carry him clear to the lead-off 4. White flag waiting at the start-finish line.
Power move to the inside. Oxendine way high. Tyler Justice trying to keep his fender down there. Brett Pancari clear to 3rd.
This race is not over. The final few tenths of a mile. Justice has a shot in 3 and 4. Does he send it? Does he hit the 66? Deep into the corner. The rear brake bias going to send him into a slide. Chad Oxendine's going to win at North Wilkesboro. And the top 3 streak, does it stay alive? No! David Shutt gets him. They all wadded up.
What an unbelievable finish. Thought for sure we were going to have Tyler Justice coming home to the checkers. Second again. That slide in the last corner is going to cost them, but the confidence is going to carry Chad Oxendine. And how about Brett Brancari? We heard from him mid-race, and he talked about he wanted to stay out of trouble. He did just that with a runner-up finish, and the tire strategy for David Shutt pays off. He rounds out the podium as Oxendine nearly takes him out while burning the house down.
Just a wild race. Man, 9/1000th of a second was the gap Shutt had over Justice at the line. And Justice, he tried. He wheeled it into turn 3, but he could not see the other side in the correct direction.
What a finish. I know no other way to wrap that one up. I still cannot believe what we just saw. So you know what, guys? Take a look back. Let's watch it back one more time. Let's watch that final restart from the North Wilkesboro Speedway and see what we can't find out about what's just gone on here in the 4th race of the NORC iRacing Season 13. We'll have to take a little bit further look back here, and I still just cannot believe what's just gone on. All of that race leading up to that finish, incredible.
Yeah, and I've learned that I am not the best sometimes at calling these races because I really did not think Tyler Justice would have the ability to hang with Oxendine in these last few laps. And I criticized David Shutt at the beginning about that tire strategy and him not being able to have it pay dividends towards the end. And they end up coming across the line here, 1st and 3rd respectively. But Justice does an amazing job here, sending it down in the corner to give himself a shot. And I think, Emerson, that's all he was looking for here as they hit the white flag this time. He played it clean. That's a wise move there by Tyler Justice. But as we see here coming up to turn 3, he went for it. He didn't just give it to Oxendine by any means.
Absolutely, and I'll spare you some credit. I don't know what we were really thinking if about the restart, if Justice was able to hold on to Chad Oxendine there. I know it was only 2 laps, but Oxendine was class of the field. We thought he was going to just drive away once he got the traction under him, and Tyler Justice was right there. And I feel like, you know, you can nitpick his onboard of the last 2 laps. You could say, oh, he could have done this better here, there, and he would have had a much better chance of just getting to the back bumper to 66. But all in all, the amazing effort from Tyler Justice. But it's the win for Chad Oxendine.
We will take a step aside. We'll rejoin you all momentarily with post-race coverage from North Wilkesboro in the NORC iRacing Series. What an epic finish here at this storied venue. We'll take a look back at it. This is incredible. The fact that this racetrack sits like this in 2021 is honestly a disgrace. Everybody wants it to come back, and boy, does it need to. What an incredible race that this storied venue put on. I am speechless, almost speechless after this amazing finish at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Don't go anywhere. Post-race coverage just on the far side of this quick post-race break. You're watching Pit Stop TV.
After months of quarantine, we're all interested in how we can become our best self. The team at Permanent Makeup and Cryo is here to help you get the flawless makeup look every day without the extra effort or time. When it comes to your appearance, you deserve the best care that money can buy.
Sound Art introduces an entirely new way to listen to music in your home. By combining the best of two products, a revolutionary high-fidelity, low-profile Bluetooth wireless speaker with beautiful artwork. Select from a library of artwork or upload your own photos to personalize your experience. Sound Art ushers in an era of invisible, beautiful, and amazing sound throughout your home and redefines your entire entertainment system. The need to reclaim your floor space and rid your home of unsightly speaker boxes that need to be bolted to the wall is now a thing of the past. Our canvas is printed on high-quality permalite by Breathing Color. And select from our gallery or upload your own. Standard sizes include 16 by 20 and 18 by 24 canvas wrapped. Custom sizing is available, as well as surround sound options. Sound Art introduces an entirely new way.
Welcome back to the North Wilkesboro Speedway. Love this B-roll thanks to BAM Racing videos that we're able to show you of what North Wilkesboro looks like today. Of course, the 1987 version of the sim looks a little better, but it's still nice to know that even through all of these years, North Wilkesboro is still there and still waiting for racing to someday return. If it does, awesome. If not, at least we're able to immortalize it forever in the iRacing.com sim. That said, another great race out of the way. Let's move on down to our post-race interviews, and let's see what these drivers have to say. Of course, the top three getting things done this evening: Chad Oxendine, Brett Pancari, David Schutt. Amazing runs to the end there, and it all went down on that final restart. Overtime in NORC is always exciting. It got even more exciting this evening. Let's talk with our podium finishers. Chad Oxendine, what a finish.
Yes, sir. Yeah, that was wild.
How did you do it those last couple of laps, driving up and by Tyler Justice, even on that restart when he was so close? We thought he was going to give you a bumper in turn 3. He couldn't quite get to you. How did you hold your composure?
Yeah, I was waiting for it, to be honest with you. I kind of ran up the track a little bit expecting the bumper, so I'm like, well, maybe if I give him a lane, he won't bump me out of the way. But yeah, it was just a wild race, wild finish. I didn't know if pitting there towards the end with about 20 to go would work, but I knew Tyler had fresher tires than me, so I felt like I was a sitting duck, even from the lead. So, come down pit lane, and it just all worked out. Got through that wreck, and it could have been anyone else gets through the wreck, and I was in it. It's a different result, but we made it through, and it all worked out.
So finally, you get that W on the season, and you've had a couple of great runs the last couple of weeks, but none quite like this. Does this set the tone for the 66 team on every short track this season?
Yeah, I mean, I love all the short tracks, and they just suit my style, I guess. So yeah, anytime we go to one, I always feel like I got a good shot at it. So we'll see the rest of the season how it plays out. But we're here, and now they know we're here now. So
next week we go to the Kentucky Speedway, completely different from this evening. How do you feel about 1 week time going to the Kentucky Speedway again? 1.5 miles, completely different from North Wilkesboro. How are you going to do?
Yeah, I like the new Kentucky as far as racing on here. Watching on TV is a different story, but with the different corners, I enjoy the challenge. And in this car, we'll have some off-throttle time and passing opportunities, hopefully. I don't know how the dirty air will be there, but should be a fun race. I mean, I like a track that's a little bit challenging and two different ends, so we'll see how it plays out.
Well, Chad, an amazing finish this evening. Congratulations to you getting it done. 103 laps led, dominating fashion. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out?
Yeah, thank you guys for putting this race on, and everyone on Pit Stop TV, John Barry for running the league. I want to apologize to Will, too, for the contact there going for the lead. But but yeah, everyone out there watching, all my friends and family watching, thank you for tuning in, and hopefully they tune in again next week and we can try to get another W. So thank you guys.
Chad Oxendine gets it done here at North Wilkesboro. We'll see what he can do on the remaining short tracks this season. We've got tracks like Dover. We've got tracks like Iowa, Nashville, Martinsville, all standing ahead, and I'd imagine he's got to be the favorite for those as well. We'll hand things down then to second place finisher Brett Pancari, who is side by side with Eric Brennan.
Thanks a lot, Andrew. And Brett Pancari, we talked in the middle of the race here, and you didn't sound all that optimistic about the chances of you staying up towards the front, and you came up one spot short of a win. Brett, how did you pull that off there on a track that seemed to be so rough and tumbled to a lot of the competition tonight?
I really don't know. I was more about survival, but I think when we had the long run, I got into the top 10, and then I kind of went bided my time and waited as long as I could on the tire strategy, because I did a league race here last night with the 87 Cup cars, and I was on the back foot in strategy. But today, the strategy was a lot better for me. So, and just avoiding all the calamity and the chaos, even near the front, there was just mayhem all around. And I'm pretty sure this is my best ever NORC finish. And I've been at this game been in NORC for a while, but mostly a part-timer, and I'll probably still be a part-timer at some point in the coming months. But I'm just stoked that I got a second place finish on a short track of all places.
And you mentioned the tire strategy, and I thought when the caution came out with about 15 to go that a lot of people made their bed and had to stay in it. But when did you make the decision to, put your last set of tires on? And was that a pretty much like on-the-fly, spur-of-the-moment decision, or was there someone you were gauging your strategy off of that may have been running really well up ahead of you?
I wasn't really gauging my strategy per se. I was more just kind of reacting and kind of thinking on the fly. I think it was around maybe 130, been my guess when I pitted. I might be wrong in that regard, but it kind of like reacting with the other leaders, because I said I wanted to wait as long as I could for to make the pit stop for tires, so that way I could be it's in one sequence with the fast cars.
And you were right there at the end. If things got a little bit crazy, it may have opened the door for you to grab a NORC win. But second is something to certainly be proud of. And I know you mentioned the fact you may be running a part-time slate here, but by virtue of your strong finish last week at Michigan, you picked up 10 spots in the standings. This is going to certainly help you as well. If you get closer to that cut line, being that this is your second top 10 and first top 5 finish of the season, are you going to think about the potential to maybe be up there in championship contention when the time comes, or are you truly in this to have fun and collect wins if at all possible?
A big no on cutoff and playoffs, because I absolutely hate playoffs with an absolute passion. But in terms of all honesty, just racing mostly for fun, and that's pretty much what I've always done now in iRacing for a long time. I just like just to race, and it's always fun getting with the guys here at NORC, and it's always a blast running with them. But like I said, I just always make as many races as I can, because at some point I'm going to be back to a part-time schedule, just a matter of work and real life circumstances.
Well, we can certainly relate to that, but we appreciate every time that your name shows up on the entry blank for sure. And we're going back to an intermediate now. 1 week from tonight, we'll be at Kentucky Speedway, which seems to have a love-hate relationship with a number of drivers across the sim. Do you plan on making that race? And if so, what are your thoughts about maybe taking some of this momentum from this runner-up and bringing it there to Kentucky?
I should be there next week. I haven't run that new Kentucky track that often, but I kind of have a feel what the groove's going to be there. Like it's kind of weird. It makes me think of like a reverse Texas in a way, because 1 and 2 is a lot more banked and a little bit more flat out, and 3 and 4 is more flat, a lot more trickier. But I kind of have something a little bit filled out, but who knows? Things could maybe change with the track with the recent updates and whatnot. So as long as I can maintain tire wear like I kind of did that a couple weeks ago, maybe I could have something in the cards, but I'm gonna need some luck too, because I know a lot of the guys like Balkingham, Zoltan, who was my teammate last season in the 87 cars and still kind of my teammate now. And they're super quick, and it usually takes a miracle for me to be up at the front with those guys.
Well, Brad, it didn't take much of a miracle for you to be up front here at the finish of this one. You played it smart, kept your nose clean, may have had one of the cleanest cars in the field. You were able to celebrate a podium finish in the terms of a second place in North Wilkesboro. Congratulations. Great job. We hope you can continue this on at Kentucky next week.
All right, thanks.
And that is Brett Pancari, our runner-up here tonight. And great to see a number of new names up towards the top of the running order and pylon when it came to the checkered flag. And Emerson Arden, I'm going to turn it over to you. We'll see who we have up next as far as our front-running finishers.
Thanks, Eric. And we're going to bring in TCB. So not the best of results for you today. First, what happened?
My computer froze, or not my computer, sorry, just iRacing just froze or whatever, and I tried to load back in, and I think I did like 3 more laps, and then it froze again, and then I just kind of threw my hands up in the air and walked away, and yeah, disappointing, honestly. It's been a tough season so far. What can I say? I think we're like 4 races in, 4 or 5 races, something like that, but it's just been a real drag, you know?
Right, especially when something out of your control kind of hinders you from even having a chance to do, what you feel you should have done today. That being said, what did you feel that 25, would have been able to perform at today?
Honestly, maybe a top 10 or maybe even 12th. I don't know. I felt like in the short run, which is kind of usual for me at short tracks for some reason, I felt like I had a lot of speed, and if it came down to it in a short run, I could definitely get some spots and maybe get a top 10 or maybe even 12th or whatever. I think I had like a low tier top 10 car. So, I mean, we just don't know what would happen,
Absolutely. Along you were already involved in a few incidents at the beginning of the race, but the incidents kind of plagued, the final stint of the race as well. I guess also talk about some of those incidents you were involved with early.
Yeah, I know I got into Jared or whatever. It was just like a little touch and we were cool. But I know with Howie, it's hard going down to the turn 1 to try to stay down low because it's just like the exit of pit road is there and it's just this wide open area. It's almost like you're in a field for a second and then here comes the grass, and it's like if you enter in too straight, you could actually end up cutting the lawn going into turn 1 and going straight. So you kind of arc that corner, and sometimes whenever you're under somebody, it gets tight. So he just slid up and hit me, and my instinct automatically was clutch and downshift and just keep it out of the wall. And luckily, I did that. And then I think after that restart, that was just about it for me. So, yeah, luckily I only had those 2 incidents, so I don't have any angers towards anyone for next week.
Absolutely, that was impressive how you kept it out of that wall. I know a disappointing way to go today here at North Wilkesboro, but next up, Kentucky, mile and a half. Some of the bread and butter of the NASCAR schedule. How you feeling?
2 things, honestly. One, I have not been to New Kentucky. I think that's which configuration or whatever we're running. I haven't been to that one. I'm pretty decent actually for some odd reason at regular Kentucky. I don't know how different this one is at all, obviously. So I'm going in there blindfolded. 2, I haven't driven the B car nationwide Xfinity car at a mile and a half. I mean, yeah, we drove Michigan last week, but that's kind of different. But Kansas. We did Kansas. But just a regular cookie cutter like Kentucky. I have no idea what to even think of, honestly. I mean, I'm gonna definitely run some practice laps. Hopefully, the computer could hold up, and we'll just try to get the win and try to get the season back on track, man. Because man, let me tell you, we're like a derailed train right now.
Yeah, I am sympathetic to your season thus far. But thanks for being here and talking with us. Best of luck to you next week at Kentucky, man.
Thank you, appreciate it. Yeah.
Terrell Baker, unfortunately, just not quite the finish that he, of course, would have hoped for. We'll get that little hee-haw there at the end. Before we go, and take a look at our race results. Want to remind everybody these broadcasts are brought to you by some wonderful people, those including, of course, Tucson Sound Art, your picture, your music, and by Race Pace Setups. Pick up pace with Race Pace, by Permanent Makeup and Cryo in Maine, where you deserve the best care that money can buy, by Whiplash Media, the official broadcast, graphic, and camera provider, there we go, of Pit Stop TV, and by BAM Racing Videos, by a race fan for the racing community. Of course, Chad Oxendine gets things done here at North Wilkesboro Speedway. Brett Punkari, second place. We couldn't quite get a hold of David Shutt for third, but Tyler Justice finishes fourth. Ashley Mono grabs fifth, keeps things in the top five. Daniel Falkingham, we'll see how he sorts out in the point standings. Of course, he should still hold the points lead, but by a slightly slimmer margin. John Berry jumps up to seventh before it's all said and done. Elijah Gracia right behind him. In fact, to the thousandth, it looks like they tied. It looks like it was .0001 between those two drivers. Will Klein gets ninth, and Zoltan Herzog finishes 10th.
Now to our second page of results. Cole Freilich, who was up towards the front a couple of times this race, had to settle for 11th spot, one spot shy of the top 10. Jared Darling didn't call his name all that much tonight, but he kept his nose clean throughout, finished on the lead lap in 12th, and Sean Williams, the same can be said for him as well. And Howie Brish just needed a good run here tonight. After being involved in a number of incidents that were not of his own doing, he was able to keep that car clean for the most part and finish 14th, while Aaron Smith II wrecked across the finish line, but ended up with a top 15 finish. Spencer Owens, we saw him involved in the big one on the back straightaway, has settled for 16th spot, while Zach Lindgren, who was also up in the top 5 on a number of occasions, involved in a couple of incidents tonight, stays on the lead lap for 17th. Patrick Colby, 18th. Hayes Booth, despite being involved in a handful of incidents, 19th as well. And Scott Shire, who we did not see a lot tonight, very quiet, top 29 for Scott. And that takes you through our first 2 pages of results.
Back here we have Justin Ford coming home 21st. Had quite a few incidents today, but able to stick it on the lead lap. Tommy Gossett went round there late. He'll come home 22nd. Tom Mercier 23rd will be the last car on the lead lap. Last car running, I would say, because we have some DNFs here. At least 17 laps down with Spencer Ray in 24th. 20 laps down, Sheldon Lockie 25th. 58 down, we'll find Ariotti in 26. Bobby Cheney, Michael Keefley, and TCB all well over half the race in laps down.
Well, boys, that does it for North Wilkesboro. 175 laps of racing. It all came down to the final couple. Actually, 178 laps of racing as we got that quick little overtime finish. Final thoughts for you, Eric Emerson?
For me, I feel like this race lived up to the hype that I may have put on it coming into it. First short track race of the season for NORC in season 13. First time on a short track in this car for a number of seasons. And North Wilkesboro just happened to be the perfect stage. And I think that you set the scene quite well in the intro by showing some of the real life footage versus the immaculate work that the sim did as far as making this track look the way that it should. Livable, drivable, and really, really racy. We saw some payback. We saw some strategy. And we saw a new name in Victory Lane, and I really just think this kind of bodes well with the look and the perspective of this series as we roll on into yet another intermediate track 1 week from tonight. But we've got some things kind of shuffling up there in the standings, and I love it. I love the fact that we're starting to be able to keep some tallies as far as who's mad at who. We're able to see who runs good at what particular discipline of racetrack, and there's a lot of people who are still itching to get to Victory Lane. And as you see tonight, 14 cautions for 68 laps. It was a rough one, but the racing all throughout the night was great, and I expect this trend to continue on throughout the rest of the season.
Right. I was very, very enthusiastic about coming to North Wilkesboro today to finally see, these drivers have to use that brake pedal a little more than just a little tap to get it down into the corner. So it was fun to see, the drivers have to really, really wrestle these things around North Wilkesboro because, man, it is a tough little track. But once again, a great show that NORC provides as always. And, can't wait to go to Kentucky.
And I mentioned this earlier. I want to give another big shout out to somebody that really made this broadcast possible, really elevated the level of this broadcast. That's BAM Racing Videos. You can find BAM Racing Videos on Instagram at BAM_racing_videos, on Facebook at facebook.com/BAM Racing Vids, and on YouTube at youtube.com/C/BAM Racing Videos. And Without that footage of North Wilkesboro as she sits today, I don't think this broadcast would have been quite as cool as it was, of course. And some great work being done by BAM Racing Videos, not just of drone footage at North Wilkesboro, but just in his everyday happenings around most of the Carolinas these days, but around several racetracks throughout the country, mostly dirt tracks, pavement tracks alike. A lot of great stuff happening, a lot of great content over on BAM Racing Videos. I highly recommend that you go and give them a like on Facebook, a follow on Instagram, and a subscription on YouTube. It's well worth your time, and of course, it's free to do so. Before we leave, I want to add to some of those final thoughts. Definitely a great race this evening. Definitely a rough and tumble, attrition-filled race. Felt like an endurance race at times, but I think even through the 14 cautions, this gives us a lot of hope as to some of the excitement that we can expect throughout the 2021 calendar year for the NORC iRacing Series. Season 13, well and truly underway. 4 races down, 21 races to go. We're going to some of these racetracks. We've got Kentucky up next, Road Atlanta after that, the first road course of the season, 40 laps of distance there. Then Dover, Homestead, the iRacing Super Speedway at race number 9, Iowa, Nashville Fairgrounds, Auto Club, the Talladega Duels at 13 and 14 to split the season in half, then Martinsville, Road America, Atlanta, and Legacy Daytona to wrap the regular season up before we go chase racing in Indianapolis, Texas, Bristol Dirt, how about that, Darlington Raceway, Phoenix Raceway, Chicagoland Speedway, and the Las Vegas Motor Speedway to wrap the entire season up. Season 13 is going to be a good one. If you are not entertained just yet, don't worry. 21 races to go. You will be entertained by Las Vegas, I promise. That will conclude our coverage tonight, however, of the NORC iRacing Series at the North Wilkesboro Speedway. We at Pit Stop TV thank you for tuning in and joining us for tonight's action. We hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast. The channel stays active weekly and you can catch more racing throughout the coming days. From the series debut of the BRP Asphalt Modified Tour to the LTAC Cup Series All-Star Race on the Dirty Banks of Bristol, we've got action lined up for any race fan. NORC is of course back next week from the east to the west side of the Appalachia, going bluegrass down in Kentucky. Before we go, make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/pitstoptv, on Instagram now at pit_stop_TV, on Twitter at pitstoptv_, on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/pit_stop_TV, and on YouTube at www.youtube.com/c/pitstoptv1. For all of Pit Stop TV, Eric Brennan and Emerson Arden beside me on the mic this evening, Trey Shuttlesworth on our social media coverage. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Have a great night.